Shiki is an ugly and troubled teen. It's just another bad day. Bullets into the whole class. It's no surprise you got kicked out of school because of my bad behavior. Mainly due to the whole day. Threatened to make a classmate a shot beer. Even if you try not to care. Shiki knows too. With this momentum, then your future might just be upside down. Hamburgers at McDonald's. Just a few minutes later, Shiki's father stormed into the room and slapped him hard on the head. I just received a letter announcing my dismissal. You're so angry you're going to slap again. But Shiki, I was able to recognize my father's law of
Avoid
spanking.
it and
Jump into bed. Your father gradually calmed down. But I still want to hear Shiki explain why she got expelled. At the same time, you wonder how. Shiki has guns in the room. Both expensive and illegal. He advised Shiki should stop before ruining his life. That advice made Shiki angry. He shouted that he was happy because you two have no relationship. Blood. Because you never wanted to be like him. That word hurt your father deeply. And Shiki herself. I also know I've crossed the line. But before anyone could say anything else, the phone rang from under the store. The wine your father is managing. He rushed down to the phone and suddenly, because there's a huge beer order. It's rare, but it makes you happy. He quickly drove to the delivery. When I saw you leave the house, Shiki decided to take advantage of shooting practice and muttered,
I wish
this didn't happen. Suddenly a loud noise boomed outside the room, and a rope made of black fog pulls the fuck. You go out. Shiki is stunned and doesn't understand what happened. Out of the smoke came a man named Samide. This person seems to know you very well. Right then, a car suddenly rushed and crashed Samide to the wall when he stopped moving. Shiki's father shouted from the car to get in. Without thinking, Shiki jumped into the car. After a temporary escape, Shiki keeps asking questions. Why did a crazy person pull you out? And why is your father calm? Killed him like that. Your father replied, a guy like Samide can die from a car crash. Shiki still doesn't understand. He decided to tell the truth. Shiki are descendants of the demon race. Samide is a descendant of Momotaro. That's why Sao is always chasing Shiki. Shiki was stunned and didn't know what to say. But there's more to it than that. And your father didn't have time to explain it all. Because Samide is catching up now. The black bone begins to surround the car. It's slowly failing. Force Shiki's father to drive into a nearby abandoned factory. You two just got out of the car. Shiki turned around and saw the car being swallowed by a black bone. Before I could ask anything else, the car exploded into a giant fireball. In times of chaos, your father is just a little, and Shiki was taken away by Samide. Inside the warehouse, Samide using black fog to tie up Shiki suspended in the air. When asked why they did that, he just replied coldly, all those who carry the blood of demons or vermin need to be destroyed. He was going to finish off Shiki on the spot. But before I could do it, Shiki's father showed up. You just walked in. Just explained that all the legends about Momotaro and the demons are all real. The war between the two sides has lasted for thousands of years. Through each generation of descendants, Momotaro is on a mission to destroy the demons. And from there the Momotaro Foundation was founded. Shiki still doesn't understand. But your father didn't expect a 7-year-old loser like Shiki. It can be caught immediately. In front of you. Just stand still and let him worry. What's wrong with Samide? As soon as Samide heard the intention to provoke, he made 2 swords out of the black fog and plunged in, attacking at terrible speed. However, Father Shiki also drew a foggy sword and withstood the blow. Type of black fog. This is a special ability only available to Momotaro's descendants. And this is where my real identity comes in. Shiki is revealed. He was a member of the Momotaro Foundation. We fought with Samide. His real name is Tsuyoshi. However, he gave up everything to raise Shiki, out of sight of the organization. But in the end, he still can't keep Shiki forever in the dark. Samide, I have forgotten how dangerous the demons are. But you don't want to talk about it anymore. Now you just want to protect your son. Tsuyoshi fought bravely. But then Samide found a loophole. In the blink of an eye, Tsuyoshi was slashed deep into the chest and fell down. Shiki Prefecture. I was horrified to see my father seriously injured. You scream out of anger, and Samide turns to finish off Shiki. But with the last bit of force, Tsuyoshi grabbed his leg to stop him. Samide asked why he risked his life. To protect a half-blood of the devil. He replied that a father, there is no reason to protect your child. Although Shiki is not a model child and carries the blood of the devil, but it's never harmed anyone. Then why Samide could kill such an innocent child? Those words made Samide feel a touch on his conscience. Lately, he also began to regret what he did. But he still doesn't want to hear it. He drew his sword to finish off Tsuyoshi. Shiki stood helplessly watching as her father was about to be killed. There's only one thought in your head. Want to kill Samide. Blood starts leaking out from every hole in the Shiki's body when the surge of hatred takes over reason. Until Samide comes back for Shiki. You're gone. The sound of bullets coming up right next to the ear makes the Samide jump back and forth to avoid the scourge narrowly. I don't know where Shiki is. Then he saw a drop of blood fall to the ground and looked up. He saw that Shiki had woken up, the demonic power hanging from the ceiling. Samide is unbelievable. Shiki can wake up and control their powers. The devil in such a short time. But the scariest thing about demons is lack of humanity. It's very brutal. Samide prepares to defend before the next attack. But when Shiki started shooting blood darts at him, Samide realized he couldn't face it head on. He's trying to escape the damage. But Shiki didn't stop. From the smoke, Shiki rushed out with a strong kick, causing Samide to fall into the rubble. Almost unconscious, Shiki stand on top of him and simultaneously unleash all the weapons the whole warehouse. Although miraculously, Samide survived. And more surprisingly, Shiki back to human form. You are confused. I don't know why I'm so full of blood. Very normal reaction in this situation. Samide, I want to take advantage of you while you are still confused before reshaping. He rushed his mouth over and over again. Every demon must be destroyed without exception. Shiki can't control the power right now, so it's completely untenable. As soon as the sword is about to fall, Tsuyoshi suddenly Lao blocked the blow instead of his son. Samide was stunned because she couldn't believe it. Tsuyoshi is willing to sacrifice his life for a demon. But Tsuyoshi remembers the beautiful days with Shiki. And I really don't regret dying here. Because he had a full life. Samide was also tired of the long battle. More than the destruction. It's starting to attract the attention of the crowd. The Momotaro organization is kept completely secret. So he decided to retreat. His body dissolved into a black mist and disappeared. When Samide is gone, Tsuyoshi collapsed in Shiki's arms. You panicked and said you'd call an ambulance. But Tsuyoshi said no hospital could save him. At this point, death is only a matter of time. So he wanted to say a few last words to Shiki. Sorry for hiding the truth from you for so long. Because it's not an easy thing to say. He also knew he didn't have much time to support Shiki, but he wants his son to be strong enough to defeat both Momotaro and the other demons and live a truly free life. Shiki yelled at me not to talk like he was dead. Because you're not going to let that happen. He tried to carry his father to the hospital, and seeing Shiki so worried, Tsuyoshi smiled, but his wound was too heavy. After just a few steps, all his strength was exhausted and he fell to the ground. Shiki desperately begs Dad to wake up, because you haven't had a chance. Apologize and atone for all the heartbreaking words said this morning. But it's too late. Tsuyoshi took a breath. Finally, Shiki sat quietly by his father's body. Tears are pouring down. And then there's this AI that's coming up from behind and told you couldn't stay here. There are 2 witnesses coming. Shiki startled and prepared to fight. But I haven't been back yet. He was hit in the neck and passed out. Immediately, Kier used skates to approach, without making any noise. Clearly Shiki has no reaction door. Meanwhile, the leaders of the organization Momotaro is panicking because of the Samide 7 failures to destroy Shiki. They're beginning to suspect whether Samide is it getting weaker or not. But considering the circumstances, they know why he has to retreat. For the existence of the organization not allowed to be exposed, but they still don't want to. The public knows about the existence of demons, so the plan was to kill Shiki as soon as he got the chance. But now it's almost impossible. Because after being knocked unconscious, Shiki was taken to a remote island in the middle of the sea. There you will be enrolled in a school full of kids. The devil is just like me, to learn how to control power. But before the training starts, the organization needs to assess, is Shiki really useful or not? And obviously, the upcoming experience will not be pleasant for you. Shiki wakes up and realizes he's naked and tied to a chair. Meanwhile, behind your back, a guy doing a push-up on his own umbrella. A scene that no one thought would have to describe. But strangely enough, with what Shiki went through, it's not the weirdest thing. A man named Nato. When Shiki woke up, he started explaining everything. Nato first reveals its horns prove that he's also a demonic, like Shiki. Then he said Shiki was brought here for two reasons: evaluation and acquisition. As Shiki knows, Momotaro organization specialized in people hunting with demonic blood like them. They're using this weird black fog. It was a member of that organization who killed me. Shiki, their ultimate goal is to destroy all demons in the world. To fight that, an organization of demons was also established. The mission of NATO is to find semi-demons that have just awakened like Shiki, to determine whether they're eligible to join. After the explanation is done, Nato, take the board out the back and untie your mouth. Shiki, ask what you can. As soon as you can open your mouth. Shiki immediately shouted at Nato, I want to know where my father is. The noise of Shiki makes Nato uneasy. So he subtracted a few points from the aptitude assessment and casually say, father's body. Shiki is now safely stored in this facility. But even though SAO, he's dead too. So it doesn't matter. Shiki wants to get out. But that kind of violent reaction is why Nato had to tie you up from the beginning, so he won't let go. Shiki is mad, but understand that screaming doesn't help. What should you try to control? Calmly ask Nato to release you. You have a debt to pay to the man who killed your father. Although the voice has softened, but Shiki's face is still full of murder. Nato still refuses. He knows Shiki. It's no match for a Momotaro agent. However, if Shiki, I wanted to throw my head to death. Nato has another way of judging you. He took off his facia and before Shiki could react, Nato has come out the back and started strangle you with that tie. The test is simple. If Shiki can get out of this situation on her own, you will live or die with Nato. It doesn't matter what the result is. Shiki decided not to let himself die at the hands of the terrorist. This fishy so you area so much so that blood begins to flow around the eyeball. But you still can't get out in time. And slowly passed out. Nato is not about to let go. You're ready to squeeze until Shiki is dead. But as soon as Shiki fainted, your subconscious takes over your body and activate the bloodthirsty demon state. The blood on the floor suddenly turned into thorns. Rammed up, he almost hit a NATO pin, causing him to back off. And just a moment he took his eyes off the Shiki. You've turned into a gun machine and aimed it straight at his head. Shiki fired without hesitation. But when the smoke goes away, Nato is still standing there 0-1 scratch because he used his blood to stop him. Nato recognized Shiki doesn't know how to control blood power. You can only fight by going crazy. Loss of control. But this could be a good lesson. Nato decided it would try to control. You are as gentle as possible. When Shiki wakes up, he saw his arm bleeding and Nato is on top, looking down. You don't understand what just happened. Nato also predicted that. Because when a demon goes into a state of hysteria, they will lose completely conscious and destroying everything around you. And that's why this room is now closed. As wild as a battlefield, Shiki still doesn't understand. And Nato is starting to think, maybe this kid's a little stupid. To be more specific, Nato told Shiki he was just a fool, without any blood control skills. And so you're out. Shiki was extremely upset by that result. But in anger, you also realize one thing clearly. Nato terrible strength, and now you have no chance to beat him. That recognition makes Shiki's ego seriously injured. But if you want to confront the organization, Momotaro and revenge for father, you need some help. So Shiki swallowed his self-respect. I asked Nato to accept me as a student. But Nato is fed up with Shiki. should refuse immediately, he said in combat. If you can't use your mind, only water dies. Someone like Shiki, loss of control and hysteria. You can't survive without a strategy. He doesn't want to train a useless boy. Just so stupid. Now Nato has confirmed that Shiki is useless. So we can't let a free-spirited fanatic run amok. He decided to deal with Shiki. Shiki kept her in front of him. But based on what we know about Nato, you know he's not kidding. You have to act if you want to survive. Shiki turning people away when Nato started deploying umbrella trees. Blood. But you know it. I will not be able to escape before being attacked. So Shiki decided to run straight at him. Nato thinks Shiki's crazy. There's no point in attacking him directly, creating a wall full of blood and sugar, at the same time anticipating the options that Shiki can make the attack from the side, jump over, or backward. And as predicted, Shiki chooses to jump over, but what Nato didn't expect was during the jump, Shiki make a gun from his own blood and shot him in the head. Nato at close range. Shiki is very proud to be able to hit Nato for the first time, but that attack didn't hurt him, because Nato used its ability to manipulate blood to prevent. Nato is still surprised, because Shiki can control blood pressure. He still thinks it's just luck, especially when looking at Shiki's face right now. It seems to be going crazy again. Nato doesn't want to confront a demon. Take the gun again. So he's about to deliver the final blow. But suddenly, Shiki has suppressed the hysteria and stay in control. Maybe this isn't luck. Nato asked you how you managed to do that. Shiki replied, Nato uses finger rings to summon blood cells. Try to imitate too. Screaming in my head for a gun. Your hand turns into a real gun. Nato, I can't believe such a stupid logic works. But the truth is that it worked normally. To avoid falling into a state of hysteria, demons must keep their emotions stable. Hot guys like Shiki, it's often easy to lose control. Shiki is different. You don't suppress emotions. It's like defeating anger to turn it into power. A crude method, but brings explosive power. Shiki told Nato, you just want to be strong enough to kill the man who killed your father. He swore that if Nato would train him, you will seriously learn. Shiki is very sincere right now, and Nato can feel it. But he still refused. What Shiki did was nothing more than gambling with his life. And you don't even have a backup plan if 7 fails. Nato still thinks Shiki is an incompetent, though. That doesn't mean Shiki's completely hopeless. Nato has changed its mind. He will accept Shiki as a student. And so the death warrant was annulled. Nato did not say why it changed its mind. But the important thing is that he saw potential in Shiki and don't want to let it go to waste. The island they're on is called Anagashima, and at its center is the Rizu Academy, a military academy trained the demons to fight against the Momotaro organization, and Nato is the head teacher at this academy. From now on, he'll be in charge of Shiki and the other students. Shiki will have to live, train and fight every day. It's time to face the Momotaro agents. You'd better prepare yourself mentally. However, the brain Shiki is almost overwhelmed with all the information coming in. Although there are many things that are not understood, Shiki doesn't care. As long as you are strong enough to take revenge, you're ready to do anything. Not long after, Nato takes Shiki to the dressing room so he can put on his uniform. The academy feels so weird for Shiki. I thought I would never wearing a uniform again after being expelled from his old school. Nato said the current class has a few other students, but among them, Shiki is the weakest, so it's best not to mess with AI. By the way, Shiki asked about her father. Nato responded, your father's body is now in the morgue. Funeral is the right of the Shiki. This answer, it immediately makes your mood drop. But Nato, it's no use saying it when you're drowning in regret. Shiki should focus on becoming stronger instead, to never have to taste such regret. Finish speaking again. Nato doesn't want to waste time standing there anymore, so he slipped off in flip-flops. At the same time tells Shiki, you only have 15 seconds to get to class if you don't want to be late. Shiki shouted that it was unfair. But you still have to run it. In front of the classroom, Shiki is still thinking, let's see how to introduce ourselves. But Nato hates to waste time. So he kicked straight. Shiki came to class and made him fall on his face and bleed his nose. I just realized I was bleeding. Shiki turned to ask the nearest person to hand him the wipes, but was yelled at by a student wearing a mask. Go and sit still. That attitude makes Shiki mad. He immediately waxed his face to double outside the mask guy. There are other students in the class whose names I don't know. But our male lead is very generous. VA Technology, all of them from the first meeting. And Shiki, it's the hottest name with this mask, for daring to despise you. At the moment of tension, straight to the top. Suddenly they both find themselves forced to sit next to each other. Nato is right behind us, but neither of them can sense when Nato is moving. Too afraid, they are stubborn who are silent. Shiki, though, still nagging that you don't want to sit next to this guy in a mask. But Nato, I don't care much about the student's personal life. So he started announcing his first lesson. The whole class is going to play catch today. Shiki suspects that the chase, it could be a code at this school. But it's not a normal chase. The special rules of the game are as follows. The students must through the forest and reach the destination. Nato will be chasing them. And any AI caught will be expelled immediately. Nato will not use force. Students can use as much blood as they want. But if any AI loses control and fall into a state of hysteria, Nato will use its blood arts. And then the consequences will be severe. One student asked if he could accidentally kill Nato. Nato will answer if AI can do that. They will graduate immediately and selected units to fight at will. Of course, Nato won't let that happen easily. After the prize announcement, the whole class got excited. Shiki is still a little hesitant because you're not used to all this weirdness. But a little worry won't stop you. Shiki looked directly at Nato and said, "Come on." Episode Ba. Everything is sorted out. And the demon hunt is about to begin. A bizarre hide-and-seek game in which the students must avoid getting caught for an hour and go back to school. Before the game begins, Nato gives a final rule. He holds 2 spheres and claims to win. The students need to bring one back. Then, without warning, I threw them both really deep into the woods. You're clear. It's useless to return without any orbs. The students are confused. I don't know what kind of test. What if there's only 2 spheres for the whole group? Quickly understand that the real goal is to steal the orb from someone else. Nato announces students will be divided into 3 teams. The first team included Homer, Jin and Shiki are the second team of Ikari and Juji. The final team consists of Rokuro and Queen. According to the teacher, only teams 2 and Ba kept the ball from the beginning. This further strengthens the speculation. Queen said the goal was to steal from her classmates. Meanwhile, Shiki just heard that she had a headache. Because I think there's going to be 3 people expelled. From the very beginning, Nato opened the door to the forest and announced, "I will join you after 15 minutes." Shiki can't hide her emotions. Refused to work with that stupid muzzle-wielding Kier. That's the teacher. Immediately, they threatened to fire you if you didn't stop complaining. Getting closer today, Shiki bowed slightly. I promise to do my best not to be burden for the group. About Shiki, he is an unruly man, and there's no experience. What about talking to girls? It's even been years. You've never talked to a girl before. So you reacted in a poor, clumsy way. I swear to protect you with all my heart. For fear of becoming a burden, I'm trying to calm down today. That she'll do whatever it takes not to hinder the group. Then she walked over to Jin and said she was counting on him, but he completely ignored it. The cold made her cry. Crying and sorry for starting the conversation. Shiki blames Jin and tries to comfort Homer. Said crying would make her face cute. Bad but then confused. Make it clear that even when you cry, you're cute. It's just that laughing is even nicer. Homer begged him to stop calling her cute. But that only makes Shiki finds you more adorable. No matter what. You also told Homer the 2 of them will win. By his own power. And don't forget to tell Jin that. Jin just sighed. Tell Shiki not to bother anyone else. And don't drag him into your business. Shiki will be expelled from school sooner or later. It's best to get out before you do. Laughter for the world. Shiki, you have a very clear goal and won't run away. Jin just shrugged. Let's say that's definitely a silly goal. It makes Shiki even more angry. No more words. The teacher ordered the first group into the forest. The two boys rushed in first. Homer stood dead in fear. Dare to enter forever, along with anxiety. Inside Jin, remember the NATO. You must attack with the intention of killing your opponent. Because if it works, you will graduate immediately and have the power. Enter any unit you want. With Jin, this is your chance to get on the team you need to find someone you hate so much. Suddenly, Shiki appears behind his back and tries to sneak with Jin a tree branch, but Jin dodged it. Shiki, I'm not the kind of person who likes to make no sense. But this time you're willing to take a risk for what's important. The Kier fool just called Shiki's dream ridiculous, and now he has to pay. It doesn't flinch. Jin tear off the mask to reveal a mouthful of horrible scars. Then he cut his own arm. Jin turns the pouring blood into saws. Spinning the headline releases a terrifying power. Looks like he's a sawdust. Shiki is really amazing. Ask him how the hell he did it. Jin smirked and mocked. If Shiki is scared, it is best to run away. But Shiki retorted that if you were a coward now, the death of the father will be meaningless. The team is ready for revenge. Jin contemptuously said, that's why you two never look in the same direction. Bored seeing double storks, Shiki bites hard fingers, trying to use his blood to turn into a gun demon. But no matter how much you focus, nothing happens. You realize this is not easy. As if you just want to. Meanwhile, Jin uses the power of blood skillfully. This makes Shiki even more mad. Jin claims Shiki is just a warm-up before he killed the teacher. There's no choice. Shiki plunges into combat with just stick in hand. In that situation, you're still showing the audacity of a frontal assault. Jin also replied without hesitation. When the two fight, it's not just a Shiki stick that's split in half, that the surrounding trees were cut down by terrible power. Meanwhile, third member of the group lost in the forest, panicked and called his teammates softly. I heard the sound of the two men fighting. She got distracted and stumbled on a tree root. Now you are sure. I should never have set foot in school. Fuck this. 1 month. She remembered Shiki's promise to help her. But then quickly fell into self-doubt, thinking yourself useless. You always have to rely on others. There's a guy with an umbrella nearby. Found one of the two spheres of the game. Outside the forest. The other groups only heard the VA touch violently. I don't understand what the hell is going on. This makes Rokuro even more worried. Akari is the opposite. I am eager to go to the forest now. Back to the match. Shiki does everything to fight back with his bare hands, but every one of your punches missed in the meantime. Jin punches Shiki straight in the nose. It makes you feel the pain of 7 defeats. Shiki muttered, wondering because of Sao Jin can easily use the power of blood. And at the Sao of Jin's it's a very different shape than the teacher's. You don't understand. And I realized I didn't know anything about the world. That confusion makes you vulnerable. Immediately, he took a blow to the face and boiled furiously. This is the first time Shiki has been so upset. Just because you don't understand something, when the tide is on my side. Jin ridicules his opponent for not being able to use blood, then turn around and walk away. But Shiki wouldn't give in. Stand up and call him back. Losing patience, Jin throws a giant rotating blade towards the city. At the right time, Homer appears after wandering around looking for his comrades. It's unfortunate. You appear as soon as the blade came and almost got killed on the spot. In fact, that's definitely going to happen. Shiki couldn't get you out of the way. The saw rotates in a split second. You've got a deep cut in your hand. Angry Shiki forced Jin to apologize. Jin just shrugged. Stop worrying about the weak. He means that if Shiki was afraid of a simple attack like this, it's better to give up. Because things are only getting worse from now on. That insolent attitude made Shiki even more irritated. Until you see Homer with his face bowed. I'm constantly sorry for hurting you. Shiki insists that all the blame is on the guy wearing the muzzle gear. But Homer felt guilty. The abuse was so severe that his nose bled. And it's not a little bit, it's virtual. Virtual to the horror. In the midst of despair, she uttered, "He will pay with his own life." No one had time to react. That terrible amount of blood turned into a giant and terrifying creature that even Jin had to widen his eyes in amazement. Jin knows people like them have a lot of blood than normal people. But this scene is beyond imagination. Homer shouted for his teammates to flee. If you don't want to be killed while you say, the monster is waking up. It's about to launch a devastating attack. At the same time, the NATO teacher is standing in another part of the forest, bored because nothing happened. The principal suddenly appeared and asked, "Are you really going to teach today?" "Just the basics." "But actually, it's a very difficult assignment from day one. That's the NATO style." He replied that practice was still more effective. Is to waste all day preaching theory. The principal nodded. Admittedly, NATO really cares about students. Every year a lot of half-blood children die. It's mostly just kids who are targeted. Because our ancestors were demons. There are children who have been taken alive as experimental animals. The principal wondered in the last moment. What do those kids think when they're killed? I don't understand why. You finally wish the world has an equal heaven, really for everyone. NATO says they don't need heaven. If the kids are strong enough, they're not going to die. It's that simple. The principal nodded and told him to train those kids stronger at all costs. And then he disappeared. Right then, NATO hears another explosion coming from the forest. The result of the Battle of Group 1. Back to the center of the chaos. Shiki just escaped death in the gang after the monster's attack. Giant blood object. Jin tries to attack the monster. But every blow is useless. Shiki shouted, "Tell your teammates to stop the monster to check something." But Homer are losing blood from all over the body like a leaking bag of water. There's nothing we can do. After losing too much blood, she fainted. Shiki rushed to pull her out of danger. But when we get close, you realize the monster is protecting you. That led Jin to come up with a theory. Can blood have its own will? Suddenly, the monster spurted out a stream of blood like the flood. Jin managed to hide behind a rock to escape. Shiki was swept away. I woke up and begged my sister to stop. Shiki heard her call the monster sister, is completely confused, begging them to flee today. But Shiki refused. You can't let your friend die in front of you. It's too much to bear. Homer's clearly in pain. Then you're unconscious again. And the monster roared with a thunderstorm, shaking the whole forest. It makes those who are far away feel it. From a tall tree, NATO is watching everything and immediately realized that this is the Homer's blood. I thought to myself, I don't know if the students will cope. What's wrong with this mess? About Shiki. He tried to collect blood from the ground to use it, and 7 more defeats. NATO, remember that what you did was luck. Once in 100 chances. In the midst of the chaos, Shiki is starting to feel like a loser. You've never won a fight. Your father was killed, and now you're helpless to do anything. Feeling helpless and about to die a miserable death. It makes your anger and your 7 hopes explode. Jin jokes that if you're going to cry, go home and cover your blanket and cry. This place is not for the weak. Then he stepped up. He tore off his arms to create blood saws. Different shapes to keep fighting. Even though I know I haven't fully recovered. Jin, if you run away now, there is only one way to die. NATO observed and noted, creating multiple weapon shapes at the same time. It's an advanced skill. Jin is a competent and experienced student. In nature, blood can change shape and intensity at will. Whatever the user imagines. It's all transferred from the brain through the nerves and blood vessels to become a physical entity, because the process is controlled by the mind. It can be traumatic in some people. It can also reflect taste, interests, or even life experiences. The blood will almost bleed. It reveals the soul of the person who uses it. Over time, this technique is called bloodletting. With this tactic, Jin rushed straight into the monster. He dodged the swing of his first hand and spun the blade of blood, cut through the red skin like it's blood. Take advantage of the jump. He aimed at the monster's neck, but it's instinctive. Put your arm up to stop the fatal blow. In the meantime, Shiki is still trying his best to summon his strength. Strong blood, but absolutely nothing. Think about it. You recognize
So
Jin.
far,
It's only made sharp blades of blood, and the monster is actually Homer's sister. I remember my room full of weapons. Shiki finally understood what Jin meant. This is when you successfully use blood. As soon as I realized it, the monster screamed again with a terrifying sound. Make Jin's tie like wanting to explode. That's the time. NATO says its students have reached the limit and prepare to intervene. But before I could do it, Shiki appears to hold under an automatic gun. After successfully releasing the blood, the teacher decided to withdraw temporarily. I want to see what happens next. The monster immediately attacked. Shiki tried to crush him with a hard slap. But Shiki quickly dodged and shot him straight in the chest. The shot made the monster's body almost explode in an unimaginable way, leaving both Jin and NATO stunned by the sight. Episode 4. Jin and NATO are stunned by the power of the female Shiki monster. The blood melted, body parts scattered everywhere, and passed out today too. Meanwhile, Jin, I have not yet recovered from the power of Shiki. Suddenly it began to rain blood. But it's just bloodshot, tossed in the air from Shiki's previous attack. And soon it turned to regular rain. Keen realized the stroke of Shiki not only destroy female titans, it also changes the weather. And Shiki didn't even think about it. But only towards home. Let's see if you're okay. But his vision fades and he falls. I can't move. NATO runs to say, Shiki has released too much blood, so the body doesn't have any strength. Shiki insisted that she could still continue. You tried to stand up, but after less than 5 seconds, Shiki fell down again. NATO taunts you for being a chicken. I don't know how to control my power, but also acknowledge the power of Shiki beyond anything you've ever seen. NATO warns if Shiki continue to use too much blood, you could lose your life. But what Shiki is worried about is not himself. It's today. He asked NATO to check on her condition first, and I can leave it later. NATO was surprised to see that Shiki was still interested. Others when he himself is in great danger. But as soon as NATO tried to help them, Jin surprise attack. Fortunately, NATO's reflexes fast enough to block the blow and repel Jin. Jin, you don't have to worry about losers. NATO angrily asked that if you die because you can't get help. But Jin replied that it had nothing to do with him. The answer makes NATO feel disgusted. I can tell you that I hate selfish people. But Jin doesn't care. He just asked again to confirm that if he killed, NATO will graduate. NATO has confirmed that it is true, and so Jin immediately rushed into the attack. NATO stops Jin's bloodsaw blade with an umbrella. It's made out of the same material as your pants. It cannot be destroyed. You press a button to release a smoke screen. Jin thinks NATO is trying to ambush him. Be careful when you appear to attack. But immediately Jin was hit with rubber bullets. You hide behind a tree. And NATO, he kept shooting with his multimeter umbrella. You said this bullet didn't kill Jin. Pain is not to be discussed. NATO even, and deliberately shot at Jin's injured hand to cause maximum damage. Jin realizes that NATO is trying to keep his distance. Because you think you can only fight at close range. But Jin also has some secret tricks for situations like this. You immediately jump out of hiding, dodge bullets, and launched a series of blades towards NATO. NATO is easy to avoid. I'm still surprised by Jin. There's a way to deal with long-range attackers. Jin continues to attack, and then suddenly appeared right behind NATO in the air. You think I won't be able to react. But NATO simply dropped a bomb on Jin. It makes you panic. Fortunately, it's just a smoke bomb. Jin thought that NATO would continue to fire from a distance. I didn't expect that. NATO will approach from behind and throw a punch so hard that it feels like break crushing your spine. NATO is warning. Believe in predictions in combat. That would make him vulnerable. Jin is exhausted and seriously injured. No more strength to move. But you still try to get up. NATO, I had to turn the umbrella over and use it as an umbrella. Cage to lock up Jin. Even though he was locked up, Jin tried to break out of the cage. Make NATO ask you if you're desperate. I want to see my father so badly. Jin became silent when he heard about his father, and he asked why NATO knew that. NATO said you've seen Jin's file, so you know something. including that your father is a Momotaro. Jin's whole body wanted to explode when he heard that. Shiki was stunned to find out. They both seem to have a similar past. But Jin is steeped in hatred. He confessed that his father was a Momotaro. And that son of a bitch stole everything from you. He killed the Jin family. And then we used Jin as an experiment, leaving scars all over the body. Jin remembers a time when he had to live on trash, along with unrelenting entanglement. You swore to your father that you would kill him yourself, even if it costs your life. In a rage, Jin unleashed a burst of power, enough to break the cage that's holding me. But before I can do anything, Nato grabbed him in the face and crashed him to the ground. I scolded Jin for being a stupid boy. If you die while in pursuit, the dream is just an idiot. Never achieved it. I told Jin to live up to his goal. Whether to accept 7 defeats or be humiliated. Listen to that. Jin finally stopped struggling. Nato called the school. There was an injured student who needed a nurse. And Homer was disqualified from the test due to blood loss. Jin was tied up. Meanwhile, the Shiki is still standing and Nato is telling you. It's less than 6 minutes before time runs out. Nato holds one of the 2 balls and says, Shiki has 2 options, or take the ball back from your hand, or find the other ball in 5 minutes, and bring it back to school. Shiki, then that is unfair. But we're finally forced to play by Nato rules. You immediately turn around and run away. And Nato followed to see what you're going to do. At the same time, Jin sat still tied to the tree. Shiki suddenly appeared from the bushes. He came closer and said he would free Jin, but on the condition that Jin cooperates with me. Jin was shocked by this offer, and Shiki explained that no AI can beat him alone. Nato, but if they work together, they have a chance. Jin refused because he thought he was saved by a fool. It will make you lose your self-respect. Shiki, I don't care if I'm stupid or not. Just ask the opposite. Whether self-esteem, how much more important is your goal? Because you'll never reach your goal if you just sit here. Jin asked why Sao Shiki was interested in that. And Shiki reveals that his father is also a Momotaro. Jin is shocked, and Shiki pulled the classic Naruto. Tell them they're the same. While Nato was looking for Shiki but couldn't find it. Makes me suspect that you're back. At that time I saw Shiki running away and decided to chasing to corral him. Shiki runs and swears at Jin. It's not because he didn't help me, but even though Jin is saved, he still wants to be the leader. Suddenly Jin jumped from above to attack Nato. Aim for the ball, but Nato can easily dodge it. But that's just a trick. The real blow is the rope tied to the stone that Jin threw raw. Let's wrap up Nato. Shiki grabs the other end. And they're pulling Nato together with all their might. But Nato has its feet on the ground. They believe their strength is not enough to overcome them. Suddenly Jin shoots a blood knife towards Nato, forcing you to dodge and lose your balance. That's a good chance for Shiki to come. Smash the ball out of Nato's hands. The ball rolls closer. Jin and Nato knows that if he brings the ball to school, Shiki will definitely try to win it back. You're going to take advantage. Both are fighting to get the ball back. But suddenly Shiki tells Jin to take the ball and run away. Jin does Theo and Shiki excitedly cheers him on. He told Nato that they stole the ball from your hand. But Nato reiterated, only someone who brings the ball to school just passed the test. And if that's the case, only Jin counts. Shiki holds on when she realizes it, and Nato thinks he's an idiot. They never calculate. Worse before acting. Really, Shiki, very regretful about his decision and started screaming for Jin. Come back! But Jin ran too far to hear anything. He was sure that if he kept this speed, you will be back to school in time. However, while he suddenly remembered that without the help of Shiki, you didn't have this chance. That thought made him unable to leave Shiki behind. So Jin turned around and ran towards Shiki. The man is now lying and joking. Is Jin blind or not? Not going back to ask for directions to school. Jin immediately told Shiki to shut up. The only reason you came back because I don't want to succeed. Thanks to an idiot. You'd rather lose 7 but achieve the goal by yourself. So, Jin asks Shiki to take the ball and bring it back to the academy. But even if you're about to touch each other, an unexpected little pink creature running at high speed and stopping between them. Nato immediately halted the test and said they shouldn't fight. When Muku, the express bed, is here. You know Muku, they're only deployed in emergency situations. Nato activated the radio mounted on the Muku's back and received a request for aid from the Kyoto branch, where the agency is. Momotaro attacks outside the inspection area. Meanwhile, the students are patiently waiting for their turn. Think Shiki and his team lost 7 because it's past the prescribed time. But then Nato came back with Shiki and Jin, announced that Kyoto branch are in serious danger and are requesting assistance, so they're going to postpone the test and immediately move there. The group quickly boarded the boat and left to Kyoto branch. The students have mixed opinions about having to go to war. It's really too early. However, Nato reassures that they will not have to fight directly. It's about supporting those who will go to war. They soon arrived in Kyoto. Nato led them to the area around a famous temple, because the demigod's base is right below it. He took his students to a normal-looking restaurant, where an old lady seemed to greet them with horror. When they come into the living room, the old woman reveals a secret staircase led underground, where will take them to their destination. While in another location, a captain of the Momotaro department named Tsubakiri just finished hunting down a demonic team. He calls them maggots masquerading as soldiers. Deputy Captain Yumogi told him to go too far again. You complain. The mess he caused would be too much trouble to clean up. Tsubakiri replied he just felt it's very annoying to see these maggots. He even wished he could confront a demonic female, because they're more resilient and they're more tolerant of pain. Semi-demon male. It's perfect for his experiments. Jomogi said his experiments were disgusting, and she especially hated what was coming towards them. Tsubakiri, he told her not to be cold to his favorite work. It's a hybrid between a monkey and a pheasant. He called it aguri, which means ugly. And that's the only thing the Yumogi agreed with him about. Tsubakiri says the aguri is an important research specimen. He was a loyal member of the military. Biological anti. The Yumogi reminded him their job is to destroy, selling dangerous demons and saving civilians. So he should contribute more, instead of wasting time on scary research. The Tsubakiri of demonic blood is a very interesting thing, and he's trying to help in his own way. He confirmed, if we learn how to control demonic blood ourselves, that's going to help Momotaro a lot. Even if you turn the ability of demi-demons to heal their blood, they can make a lot of money and get rich. Yumogi remind him, even Momotaro has the same abilities. But Tsubakiri, given that experimenting on humans is unwise, for him, selling demons is just maggots. We need to experiment with them, because killing is a waste. It's not far. A demonic child panicked when he heard it all. The boys hiding behind the corner tried to be as quiet as possible, but as soon as I heard the footsteps of 2 agents, Momotaro away, he breathed a sigh of relief, and it was a fatal mistake. Tsubakiri heard immediately advancing towards it. The boy panicked. Tsubakiri decided to bring it back to the lab. Jomogi said he'll faint it to avoid trouble. But when you're trying to put him to sleep without drugs, a drop of blood shot up Tsubakiri's jacket. Jomogi understands that this is bad news, not for you. It's for the baby to sell the devil. Tsubakiri stepped back and started kicking him to the curb. Even though he's fascinated by demonic blood, it's still dirty, and he wouldn't accept it attached to his uniform. He asked the boy if his parents were nearby, and whether or not he's from the group he just killed. Didn't get a reply. He pulled the, there's a demonic corpse nearby. Let's show him. He asked if his parents were here. He's too scared to say, and Tsubakiri decided to press it down with bodies. Jomogi is angry because of all the power Momotaro had ever seen. The power of Tsubakiri is the most cruel. Black bone coming out of the body. The demi-demons are actually a special type of bacteria. Living in blood. They can be used to make weapons by Tsubakiri. Then we can use that bacteria to control the corpse. And Jomogi still can't get used to this. Soon enough, Subakiri finished the boy in pain for being forced. He told the monster to experiment. Agari ate that giant demonic dango cake. He and Jomogi continued to look for other maggots to kill. Meanwhile, Shiki and other students, it's going through a huge tunnel. Nato says some shops in the area have access down this tunnel, and it goes straight to their base. They quickly reached a gate, led into the space just below the Yoruda temple. It's designed like a traditional house. In Japan, students couldn't believe their eyes. Nato says this is the branch's headquarters, Kyoto of the Demonic Bureau. At that moment, a doctor came out of the next room, just complaining about all the work I have to do. But his attitude changed when he saw Nato. I'm happy to say hello and start fixing your hair when you see a sexy blonde with you. But she immediately rejected his advances, and that didn't break his heart. You're used to being rejected. Shiki asked Nato which clown this was, and Nato's nickname is Kyota, commander of the support unit at the Kyoto base. Kyota added that, you and Nato were classmates at the academy, but Nato doesn't want to talk. Decision to immediately go to the front lines. Shiki, please come along. Other students also want to follow, then staying with a weird guy like Kyoza. But Nato ignored it all. You said Kyoza can use these kids any way he wants. Then leave. The nurse called Kyo-ra back to work. She also noticed a group of students and asked them to change immediately because we need more support. They quickly put on uniform nurse Substone, then to the field hospital, where row 10 selling injured demons are groaning in pain. A demon has just been brought in. He lost both legs and many wounds. Danger to life. Shiki was horrified to see his condition. And Ida said if it goes on like this, he'll only live for at most 3 minutes. Haoya just smiled and said they wouldn't let him die. Shiki yelled up, ask not to make such empty promises. Kyoya praised you for being honest and kind. But let's say you're an important person here. And I decided to show the kids what is real support. Somewhere else. Subakiri and Yomogi. We just finished taking out the vice captain of another group. The rest of the demons are scared. But Subakiri showed 7 hopes for dealing with a bunch of unknowns. He wants to meet the strong. Right then, Nato appears and immediately activates the ability. Subakiri, glad to see you. But Nato didn't give him a chance to have fun for too long. He came straight from the arrows of blood. The demigods were delighted to see Nato come to the rescue. But Subakiri was unharmed for using the captain's body, and the vice-captain sells demons as meat shields. Turns out he's used to Nato before. Talk like an old friend. He asked what Nato was doing in Kyoto. Because this is not your area. Subakiri, I've heard that there's a demonic gathering place in Kyoto. If you clean that place, the problem will be solved. Nato remained calm and said it knew nothing about it. Subakiri replied, if even Nato says it doesn't exist, then he'll ignore it. He said he would go around the temple. Nato whispered in panic, you know that Subakiri's instincts are sharp. So I decided to stop him right here. So I'm ready to fight seriously. Back to headquarters. He's got a lot of blood in his body. Questioned Shiki. That blood should be reserved for the injured SAO. But the nurse told him to shut up and watch. Kyoya approached the most seriously injured. Ask him if he wants to grow back his arms or legs. Because we can do both now. The man gathered his strength and said, I want my arms back so I can hold my baby. Proud to help. But warned that the process will be excruciatingly painful. And then he slit his wrists for blood. I flowed into the man's mouth. You explain. Your blood can increase the recovery of a normal demonic up many times. As soon as the blood starts working, the man screamed in pain. The nurse immediately told the practitioners to hold him down. Shiki and others follow, while the nurse tell the others to get more blood from the next room. Not long after, something has started sticking out of the man's bandaged arm. And Shiki, use me when I see a vague shape like a human finger. The other students also came back and were surprised. The injured person can regenerate both arms. Even severe burns on the chest, also completely healed. Shiki immediately ran to the Kyoza. Is it possible to regenerate his leg? Kyoza confirmed it. But it has to be done slowly with a small dose of blood, because he drank too much. If you drink more, the body can make antibodies against Kyoza's blood. Kyoza approached the patient. He said he'll be fifth out of the combat unit from now on. But maybe family. Join a support unit to help others. With a pair of prosthetic legs soon, I'll play with my kids again. The man shed tears when he heard that. I turned to the students. Say one day, they could be in the same situation as him. I understand the pursuit. Glory can only be achieved on the front lines. But you remind them that those on the front lines can fight bravely. It's because someone is always behind. That guard is the support unit. Shiki and a few others started to get very impressed with Kyoya, so they're willing to help you with anything. Kyoza told Shiki, I need your help with something else. Then I took him to a sad girl named Cloud. Was brought in yesterday after the Momotaro department attacked. Her parents are still missing, and Kyoza wanted to thank Shiki's kindness to help her feel better. Shiki accepted to talk to the Cloud. Slowly she opened up. He asked her about school, and Cloud said, I never went to school. Shiki is still wondering, are you a mess like me? The support unit, bring back some bodies from the battlefield. There are also the parents of Clouds. You cry when you see them. And Kyoza said, I still can't get used to such heartbreaking scenes. Even though I have been through many times. But behind these bodies are hidden, to hide a more sinister plot. Because on the other side, Tsubakiri told Nato that he's laced with his bacteria into some demonic corpses. Because he knows for sure the support unit will bring them back to the base for the funeral. From there he can control the body from a distance to destroy the base. Nato was shocked to hear this. And Tsubakiri decide whether the plan has worked or not. He woke up the body of the little cloudy girl's father, while Shiki and Kyoza are caught off guard. I am glad that my father is still alive. But he immediately strangled her on Tsubakiri's orders. Shiki and Kyoza quickly realize. Kyoza immediately understood that this is the power of Tsubakiri. He told Shiki to cover his eyes. Shiki making Theo and Kyoya. Two sharp knives pierce the man's brain. It makes you immobile, because the only way to neutralize the entanglement is brain damage. Even beheading doesn't work. When Shiki leaves his hand, the Clouds wept again when they saw their father's condition. Kyoza realized there could be so many puppets here. That's right. The bodies that were taken back to the base are starting to move. The fingers. Episode 6 is exactly as Kyoya feared. The bodies, the remaining dead, are being transported in the underground Start base. Moving in turns. The Clouds were in severe shock. I saw the blood flowing from my father's head. While people are still trying to understand what's going on, the body of the Cloud began to move. That they didn't know about. Before I could react, she put her arms around her back, strangling Shiki with a tremendous force. The Clouds panicked at the sight and tried to stop her. But Shiki told her not to come near. Before this situation, Kyoza knew he had no choice. In addition to continuing to act, but at the right time, you've been attacked by other corpses. She's still trying to wake up her mother. While Shiki's vision fading and the bodies, the rest of the base is moving. They attack employees without hesitation, then break down the wall to reach. Patients are helpless. The nurses also tried to help. But there's more and more dead bodies. Kyoya was sure. Tsubakiri itself. He's the one who controls all these zombies. The Clouds are still desperately calling my mother, hoping she recognizes me. But it's obviously hopeless. Shiki pulled the Clouds as far as she could. Meanwhile, Kyoza is surrounded by too many enemies, so there's no support. Shiki, you know it's time to use the weapon you've been hiding. In a flashback, Nato gave you the gun. Tell them to use it when absolutely necessary. Because you can't control it right now. Completely my blood. Shiki's excited to hold a real gun. Because you've only ever played with toy guns. And obviously guns are a whole different class. Whoever likes to play. Nato says this gun contains bullets laced with demonic blood, so power beyond bullets often returns to the present. Shiki holding a gun with one hand. The other hand hugged the Cloud and whispered to her. Don't look at what's going on. Without any hesitation, Shiki shoots directly into the head of Cloud's mother from behind. She collapsed in a split second. The sight made Shiki breathe hard. But you quickly turn around, shoot down the bodies that were attacking the Kyoza with a gun, at the same time shielding so that the little cloudy girl doesn't see the terrible sight. He then helped Kyoza stand up and was thanked by him. Follow the words that the logistics unit is of no use in combat. You said you needed to get the patient to safety, so ask Shiki to take care of the main hall. Shiki agreed without hesitation. Meanwhile, the rest of the class. We are fighting the enemy. Ikari uses his fists to attack, clearly very angry at the sudden attack. No one understands what's going on. Queen also fights back with muscle strength. But no matter how many bodies are knocked out, even if they live, they still stand up. After just a few seconds, Jin realized that and was confused. I don't know what to do to end them. At that time, Shiki and Kyoza appeared to explain. You said the only way to destroy the undead. Shot in the head. No more words. You shoot anybody in the head. No more moving. The whole class quickly understood the situation. Jin did not hesitate to use his skills. Unleash the blood eclipse to unleash the blades. Attack directly at the enemy's head. Others also follow. Kyoza ordered for logistics unit. Quickly evacuate the patient to avoid more casualties. Shiki keeps pulling the trigger non-stop, but having to kill the dead. It makes you feel disgusted. You obviously don't want to continue. Juji announces you and Rokuro will support the logistics unit in the transport of patients. Kyoza complained. Juji is organizing everything on his own. But it's also about protecting the patient group. When we withdraw from this place, Shiki is getting worse and worse, while the enemy fall one by one under your bullets. I knew there was no other way but to shoot. You still can't stop the disgust. You think each of those bodies used to be important, with AI that used to be a human, have meaning in the lives of others. Kyoza is now asking all employees quickly evacuate the remaining patients, while Shiki and others continue to stop the enemy. In the midst of chaos, Shiki, I can't stop thinking about the people you just shot. The mind is filled with mixed emotions when I see my friends fighting the undead. You can't help but remember the moment Kyoya crashed into the brain of the father of clouds, and even when your own hand shot at her mother. Even though I know it's inevitable, Shiki still wants to cry because of all that's happening. Because the only enemy they should face, it should only be Momotaros now. It's not another demonic. In another scene, Tsubakiri laughed in front of Nato, as if he knew what was going on. The base of the demons. Without hesitation, Nato rushed to attack him with an umbrella. It turned into a lance, but before reaching the target, Tsubakiri used the bodies of his comrades as a shield that Nato accidentally pierced through its own people. Tsubakiri laughing big tease. It looks like a stick. Nato has not yet responded. Then I felt the appearance of the creature. Sell his demons. This monster destroys the corpses around. Get Nato to the side. When you see the body, my teammates are lying there. Your face becomes quiet. Tsubakiri asked why she looked like that. Because you should be happy that the maggots are down. Nato just coldly meets the limit for the mean. But Tsubakiri laughed and said, it's even more interesting to hear that from a monster. The joke is too boring. The rest are prepared to support Nato. But I'm asking them to return to the base immediately, because I'm worried about what's going on there. Tsubakiri said he would not let them leave easily. He called his comrade Jomogi. As soon as the order is received, Jomogi tightened, hold hands and activate the ability to collect the black bacteria in the body to form an unbreakable cocoon, swallowing Nato and his comrades inside. Tsubakiri praised her for doing well and told Nato that, while you're locked up, they're going to visit the demonic barracks. He also explained Nato can't escape that space without the permission of the Jomugi. They will be detained for a long time. Know that Nato is thinking he won't find the base. Tsubakiri revealed. He attached locators to the bodies that were left behind, and the signals of those devices converge in an interesting place. That's the subterranean area beneath the Iryuda temple. He said he'll be there immediately and invite Nato. Come if you're alive. At that point, Nato tried to stop it, but Tsubakiri kept walking before leaving. He gave the final order to the Yumogi. Right then Yumogi allow. The Kier monster entered the space that imprisoned them. Nato immediately took a defensive posture when it saw the creature. Subakiri explained, that monster is a mass-produced model. If it is destroyed, it will not hurt. While leaving with Jomogi, he snapped, and the monster's stomach began to swell. Nato realized it was about to explode. We should shout warning people to lie down. Just a few seconds later, it explodes with tremendous force, destroying the area around the cocoon. Subakiri just walked away, even though they complained that the explosion wasn't pretty enough. Need further improvement. That's the spirit. Follow him. Yumogi. He asked if he wanted to make sure they were all dead. But he said, it's too much dust, and he doesn't want to get blood again. After the explosion, we see Nato's wounded body in the rubble. It is unclear if he is alive or not. Meanwhile, Shiki continues to shoot down the bodies until there's no more. Sweats and heavy breathing. People think it's over. The patient has been transferred to another room. They are safe, and thanks to them everything is fine. Put that aside. Shiki and Kyoza looked at the clouds. She's standing motionless in front of her parents' bodies. The body was completely bloodied after the chaos of Ross Pride. Go closer to her gently. Get on your knees and apologize for scaring you. Shiki also apologized for doing that to her mother. If you think about it, it hurts you. But suddenly changed the clouds to reassure him that I do not. The answer surprised Shiki. The cloud continues to explain. You've never been to school. Because I've lived my whole life on the run. From one place to another. That's why. Part of you always thinks that one day, something like this will happen. So people don't have to worry too much. Her words made it all quiet. But the person who's most affected is Shiki. You can't believe what you just heard. That's clearly not the word that a child has just seen in person. I saw my parents killed. I should say out. Shiki tightens his fist to suppress emotions. But then you remember when you were a kid. You often watched the heroes on TV. You were just a dream boy. To be a righteous hero, destroy the evil, and always imitating superheroes on the screen. When I remember that, Shiki wondered if Momotaro is considered a hero of SAO. But I saw a sea of blood covering the base. You start to doubt about this fairy tale hero image. Without any hesitation, Shiki knelt and hugged the clouds and said, if the so-called hero causes harm, you'd rather be the villain. And as a villain, you will destroy those who are called heroes. The clouds were shocked by those words. But Shiki, hold her tight and make sure everything is okay. Because you're going to create a world where you can live and smile. The words made everyone quiet. And Shiki kept comforting her with determination. Those words and Shiki's sincere feelings made the eyes of the clouds. For the first time, there's hope after all. After a while, Kyoza with Jin, walking in the underground tunnel under the city. Kyoza, he said he wanted to take the bodies back to the crematorium to show respect, and asked Jin to lead the way. Jin remembers that place. It's in the middle of the hallway they used to go through, but maybe Kyoza didn't notice. And actually, if this doesn't happen, I'm not going to show them. Suddenly Kyoza changed the subject and asked Jin if he had a girlfriend. Jin knows the doctor's personality, so just answer in a minimalist way. Meanwhile, members of the logistics and the nurses started cleaning. The field of collecting dead bodies was destroyed. Shiki is always next to the clouds. The rest of the class. It also supports moving the body. They complain about how heavy they are. The person in charge is the one who only knows mistakes. In the meantime, Juji stood still and looked thoughtful. Ikari yelled at you for not doing anything. Wearing glasses doesn't mean being lazy. Juji protested. Given that Ikari, there's a lot of prejudice against people who wear glasses. Ikari asked the opposite, what are you doing? Juji replied that being attacked proved this place is no longer safe, so you're keeping your guard up. Ikari seems confused. Juji explained, your abilities are well suited to defensive work. Then you bite your finger. Let a drop of blood fall to the ground. As soon as the blood hits the ground, Juji activate Eclipse blood release skill. It creates a radar-like zone around where the drops of blood fall. Iki was surprised to see that. Juji explained it with his blood. You can detect living things within a 5-kilometer radius from where the blood fell. That's the tracking ability you always use. In a split second, Juji can clearly feel each area in the base. And added that, you can even tell the difference, Momotaro and not. Ikari was impressed. But Juji also admitted, I don't have much experience, so you can't identify the power or the face of the enemy. At that moment, the radar emitted a warning sound. It surprised Juji when he discovered something. Switch to another scene outside the Misumoto restaurant. A new visitor comes in with bad intentions. Is FedEx Tsubikiri. Before acting, he made a phone call and request my contact sent some monsters. Experiment to the right. Current location, while he's talking freely. On the floor of the restaurant was the body of the old woman. Serve the students when they arrive in the city. Now lying dead without a soul. The person on the other end of the line asked, what is Tsubikiri going to do next? And he replied, I'm going to blow up Onigashima Island. Follow him. To hunt demigods, there's no shortage of dogs, monkey and pheasant. We need more experimental monsters. Then he told the contact to be sure, so that they also carry secret weapons. In the meantime, Jomogi, silently approaching the entrance to the basement they discovered earlier, waiting for the right time to act. Before the end of the call, Tsubikiri added, in the meeting there was a recent mention of a particularly dangerous demigod, but he doesn't remember the name. So he asked someone to contact him, send information about selling demons. Just in case you need it. Right after that, Tsubikiri ends the call and waits for the message to arrive. He muttered that if NATO had been here, there must be something worthwhile about this place. Surprised Jomogi, call him back and show him the stairs down to the basement. Tsubikiri approached and she commented, because the LAN sound travels quite widely in the space, it's unclear how many enemies are below. She asked if she should use poison gas. Tsubikiri thought for a moment and admitted, that's not a bad idea. However, before making a decision, he received a message containing the requested information. As soon as I read the news, his expression immediately changed. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Immediately Tsubikiri changed plans and said, it is best to go down directly. But this time he told the Yumogi, ask the person who sold the demon before you killed him. Because if one of them is a semi-demon named Shiki, he wanted to capture her instead of killing her. Shiki is a special individual, and he's eager to study you. No more hesitation. Tsubikiri and Yumogi, down the stairs to the basement. He just walked away laughing. We'll make the end of the old story. This is brilliant. Chapter 7 begins with a series. Recall the memories of the clouds with your parents. These memories stretch from the time the clouds play with them when it's getting dark, to avoid being seen by others, until she picked flowers for her mother. Even if the memories are beautiful, but they're covered in a translucent layer of bone. And the only thing Cloud remembers is her parents. Always love and protect her. The bones only melt when you have your parents by your side. But that moment was quickly shadowed by Momotaro cover. Open your eyes in the present. Realize that reality is different. You see, Shiki and the others are taking the bodies away. After the last look, the clouds were all alone in the bloody room. That's when, after all that's happened, you're crying somewhere else. Kyoya leaves the crematorium with Jin. After showing you how it works, he asked Jin to help transport the bodies in the base. Jin stopped for a moment, thinking about having a crematorium in the basement again. Kyo-ra explained in combat. They often have to bring a lot of injured people, but not AI was saved in time. So a crematorium is necessary. Because that's the world Jin's about to enter. But Kyoya concussion. While you're here, I won't let Jin die so easily. So you don't have to worry. Jin asked no more, but Kyoya asked him another question. Do you have a girlfriend this time? The unexpected question made Jin ignore again as Kyoza, slightly seven hope. But he's clearly not going to give up easily. While the conversation continues, a jet of black air that brings them both back. Before I could react, Kyoza stabbed in the side. Tsubikiri looked at Jin with indifference. He pulled out the bloody knife and said coldly. Jin was caught off guard when he turned around. Without hesitation, Jin stepped back and activated the real blood release skill. Put yourself on the defensive. Just look at Tsubakiri. You know he's extremely dangerous. It needs to be destroyed immediately. Jin immediately rushed to attack, but Jomogi shows up behind you and uses the bacteria to create a box that locks Jin's head. Fortunately, the Kyoza managed to pull Jin raw. The box only caught the arm, but the VA hit hard enough to break the arm. Kyoza worried. But Jin, it is believed that the wound will heal quickly. The devil's blood in you. However, the pain caused Jin's mind to become clouded. That's a big problem because now we're both injured. Even if the situation is serious, Kyoza remained calm and asked Jin, "Can you tell me, Shiki and others that assembly, is Momotaro here?" He also asked Jin to lead everyone, including patients leaving this place. Jin asked what you said, but Kyoza just laughed and said, "It's still to be seen. He's a man who risks everything." Jin runs away to find aid, while Tsubakiri signals for Jomogi action. Jomogi puts his hands on the ground. It releases bacteria slowly. Kyora carefully observed, trying to figure out how that power works. If the box you saw earlier is a Yumogi's ability, I guess this time she's building a wall. By VI bacteria, and if they're all in that wall, that means they're going to. We'll kill everyone. Let no one escape. A few seconds later, the Yumogi stood up and announced, "I've surrounded almost the entire basement of the temple," which means they're actually surrounded like rats. Trapped now, Kyoza. It's clear that this place is completely under siege, and there's no escape. What's worse is, now only the students can fight. This makes it easier to get outside aid. It's impossible. This is a serious problem. There are two strong people in front of you, to the point of making yourself shiver. Before this situation, Kyoya can only sigh, as if he had accepted that he would surely die. Before acting, Tsubakiri asked you a question. Do you know someone named Shiki? That question made Kyoza's face very serious. Because that question alone is enough for me to understand. Surrender is no longer an option. Not say a word. Kyoza take out a syringe containing blue liquid. It's extracted from the paternal tree, a poisonous plant that can cause shortness of breath and multiple organ failure. Tsubakiri says there's nowhere to hide. And Kyozaki replied, "I really want to hide too, but you can't if you want to. Before you can act, with just one stroke, Tsubakiri cut your neck. You didn't have time to react." Kyozaki suddenly embraced the wound with his hands. "You must drink your blood now or it will be too late." However, the slash hit the spot. Dangerous. So he quickly lost too much blood and fell to the floor. Nothing more can be done. "Tsubakiri, I was surprised to see you so fast." He came back to check. "See if you're really dead." Nothing in hand. He decided to use Kaya's body as a weapon. He started infecting you with the virus to kill you. But at the right time, he changed his mind and decided not to. Looks like the person they're waiting for has arrived. Yumogi snapped his finger, allowing the experimental monsters he's calling. "Step in." Tsubakiri asked if they had what he asked for. One of the monsters vomited, a box wrapped in a plastic bag. Even he was disgusted by it, but still ordered to take it out of the bag carefully. They do exactly, peeling off the wrap to reveal a luxury wooden box, intricately decorated. Meanwhile, Jin, they reached the base to warn the rest of us about the threat. But you're surprised to see this place full of blood, and there's almost no people. After a search, you see everyone hiding in a room. You ask them what they were doing. Shiki explained thanks to Juji Trace, they knew that some Momotaro was coming. So we evacuated the patients to the ground. But soon after, a sudden black fog blocked the passage, make them trapped. Fortunately, most patients were able to escape. But some people are left behind. There are clouds in it. A nurse announced she had checked the exits, but they're all blocked by the black fog. So there's no escape. People asked Jin about Kaya's condition. But before Jin could answer, an experimental monster suddenly appeared in the room. And everybody's looking at this creature in disbelief, and immediately panicked when I saw it eating a patient. Ikari yelled, "If you stay in one place, you will be killed." So the group immediately dispersed. Shiki ran to the clouds to protect her. "I told you not to leave me." While the experimental monster continues to eat the bodies of the rest, the other monsters help. Tsubakiri shipped the box just now to the center of the base. He asked them to put the coffin on the ground. He ordered the extermination of all demonic beings except for someone named Shiki. Jomogi asked if he was in the war, but he replied, "We'll stay by the coffin to think about how to do our research." Before that answer, Jomogi decided to go to battle himself, so you don't hesitate, and quickly left with the experimental monsters. Meanwhile in the break room, Hyun is desperately rummaging through the closet to find other clothes, because she hated the uniform she was wearing. It's because this suit makes it hard for you to move. At the same time, Rokuro is on the floor, feeling your heart pounding and shortness of breath. You're so sure you're going to die. Queen was upset to hear those complaints. Tell him to be quiet and explain. It feels like it's just stress, and because I just ran so fast. No more words. Queen, cover him with a blanket for privacy. She quickly changed into her clothes. You feel much more comfortable. Rokuro asked her what she was going to do, and she said she would fight. Because if you can't hide, there's only one way to face it. Queen pulls blanket from Rokuro's face, and he said he's a healthy person. Always optimistic. What you can't understand. He told me on the way to Kyoto. You accidentally read it on social media. Association of articles of the sick, and that makes you afraid you're going to get sick. At that moment, Rokuro felt a headache. What makes you panic even more? Because you know that anxiety will make it worse. Hyun complaining about his annoying thoughts. At that moment, the glass broke. Rokuro panicked, covered in blankets, and screamed. You can't fight in this state of anxiety. He begged the queen for help. You can't do anything without me by your side. Hear that? Queen orders you to hide in the corner closet. Her expression suddenly became amused as she spoke. You are the only one you can rely on. Rokuro was a little confused by that attitude, but I didn't hesitate to hide in the closet. Trembling with fear. While the experimental monster gets close, Hyun get ready to fight. And say from beginning to end, you'll take care of everything. Just a few blows, the creature smashed a break room door. Makes Rokuro afraid to hear the sound of breaking. Though, he tried to trust Hyun's words and abilities. But in the dark closet, you're still worried, even though there's nothing else you can do right now. Before the battle begins, Hyun, it was a bit surprising when the test monster asked if she was. Shiki, didn't he know he was the wrong person? She replied clearly that it wasn't, and immediately she was mercilessly attacked by it. Hyun dodges quick attacks, while the creature's blows, destroying the walls in just a few seconds, makes Rokuro panic when he hears everything fall apart. You're sure you will die. Especially when the closet. He fell over and he fainted in a panic. Among the rubble, the monster is still standing, but the cock came up and poked fun at it. Don't think you're terrible just because you broke the wall, because it's actually just your toy. Without hesitation, she bit her finger to activate the release of real blood. Make 2 gloves that cover your hands with yours. This is pure devotion and madness. She smiled and asked if she wanted to join her companion to death. Another scene, Jin, running at full speed through the underground tunnels. I want to know what happened to Kyoya. Meanwhile, Ikari, meet a lone monster and want to duel him. The monster also asked if he was a Shiki. Makes you angry at being mistaken for someone he hates. Bitter hatred. At the same time, Shiki is leading the clouds to the garden in the base, but he's frustrated that he can't find a place to hide. So they both hid behind a bush. Shiki is always on guard, ready to deal with any situation. Meanwhile, Rokuro suddenly wakes up in the closet. I'm sure my heart has stopped beating. After calming down, he noticed that the space around him was unusually quiet. It makes you think that everything that just happened was a fantasy. I think that makes you feel better. So I decided to get out of the closet and go to the mental health clinic. When I opened the closet door, the first thing you see is the monster's skull, the guy who just fought Queen. When the creature stood up, Rokuro panicked. Please stop because my heart is not well. I hope he can pretend not to see you. It's amazing the monster really ignored you. Made Rokuro breathe a sigh of relief. However, you're more confused when you see Queen is controlling the monster. It's like it's your pet. She asked it to stand in a specific position. And when it's in the right place, like everyone else who's been there, she immediately threw a punch that made him hit his face on the floor. Then Queen, jump on him and continue beating him unscathed. He constantly challenges her to stand up. Rokuro hurried to cover the blanket. You're more afraid of the Queen now than you are of monsters. Queen, keep beating it until the creature's gone. The last movement. She stopped and smiled proudly as I watched the monster's crushed face. Right now, it was explained that her ability was called, you fall in love when your blood is on an object. With a certain amount, that target will be turned into a queen's slave and slowly lose the will. The fight ended in total collapse. Like some people you used to know, I stood up and laughed triumphantly. This guy doesn't deserve to spend so much energy on you. Rokuro looked at her with admiration. It's absolutely amazing. You can defeat the monster alone. She smiled, and the narrator reveals who knows her. She is often called a strong and reliable sister. There are many people who love and admire you, but Queen's best friend described, "You are a beautiful woman, but always giving too much to the extreme. You've given yourself to many men. And as a result, they're all broken. Some people even have to go to the center rehabilitation after breaking up with you. That's how strong you are." After all, Rokuro can't help but get on her knees. "Thank you. You'll never forget this. Unless you have dementia. Kyuan, smile and immediately prepare a bed. Let me tell you not to worry because I can." She picked you up gently. Put to bed comfortably. "I am so excited to protect you." Kyuan totally devoted to Rokuro. "I told you to rest. When you wake up, it will be over." Somewhere else, a nurse on the run from a monster, but caught up, and it pierced through the skull. Meanwhile, Rokuro is too nervous to react. Queen saw you pale and said she would prepare something nourishing with a lot of love. She starts looking for the kitchen and Rokuro wonders, what's wrong with her? Because you're doing everything for him that she can't avoid from thinking that this is a trap. As many people you've known have fallen into this trap, you're starting to fear that you might use him as bait and eat you when you're not in the room. Kyuan was worried when he saw you shivering. But at the right time, there was a strange noise that made her angry, because the second experimental monster showed up. Episode 8. Even though I saw you shivering, Queen didn't seem worried. But at that moment, there was a sprinkle. She was angry when another monster appeared. It immediately turns the arm into something that looks like an animal. Rokuro immediately went back into the closet, shivering as if to freeze. Meanwhile, he quickly dodged the blow and discovered the monster. This is different than before, though. You didn't hesitate to go straight to destroy it. One more time. Activate the menstrual blood release state. Just before the blow, her fist touched the monster. It suddenly disappeared from view and shoveled. It pierced through your arm. She stepped back immediately, but only a few seconds later, both hands were locked by the monster despite struggling to resist. She was quickly banged against the ceiling by the monster. This stunned her and threw her against the wall. To the floor, to the ceiling. Not giving you a chance to resist, the monster slammed her to the ground, and then repeatedly stomped on her face savagely. Rokuro could only see the whole scene from inside the closet. It's absolutely terrifying. The beast finally stopped for a moment. I saw Queen in terrible condition. Rokuro panics because he knows that if he goes on like this, you will die. But I also know there's nothing I can do. If you come out of hiding, you'll be killed. While the monster keeps stomping on my head, Rokuro tries to reassure herself that the AI will come to help her. But Queen's status is more in DT1 all the time, and I can only watch. Rokuro began to wonder, since when have I been such a coward? And then the story moves to your past. The first time I loved someone, a girl a year older than you named Du2. The one you see as your safe place. One day I jumped from the cliff into the water to prove his courage. I feel like I just need Rue by my side. You can be a hero or a poet. I forgot all my fears after that jump. I'm confident I can do more. Give me the towel. Even though she knew he was shaking, she still smiled warmly. Rokuro knows no matter what, she always takes care of you with tenderness. So when I'm with you, I don't feel afraid. I was born in a small country where many demigods mix with humans. It is also a semi-demon. And Rokuro loves to dance with her under the sunset. At the village festival that year, he and Rue howled and everyone danced in peace. However, nomads suffer from a chronic disease when selling horned demons. Their blood type changes, so they can't be treated in a regular hospital. You have to rely on the demonic doctor, the only one in the village, because you're often sick. Rokuro never left her though. Stay with me whenever you get weak. Until one day tragedy strikes. The Momotaro organization appears and attacks the village. He killed the only demonic doctor. When winter comes, Du2's health condition is getting worse. Rokuro is always with you. I promised I'd go to the next village and find another doctor. You never show fear or hesitation. He said that he had never failed 7 times. Du2 smiled weakly. Tell me to always be a great guy that you used to know. And after that, Du2 closed his eyes forever. Rokuro was in disbelief. When I finally realized that I had lost you, I cry alone in great pain. Ru is my safe place. He gave me the strength to overcome all my fears. When you leave the worries, the pain and anxiety I once buried start gnawing at you every day. Your hair is turning white, insomnia tortures, and you become a coward. There's nothing attractive. The only thing left is a round towel. I left something that I always carry with me. Come back to the present when you remember everything. Rokuro realized from the day of Ru's loss. You've changed. A change that I can't avoid. Because of your lack, I feel like I can't do anything. At that moment, the monster raised a tentacle. Prepare to finish, Queen. Rokuro remembered his last words. You have to keep being a great guy. It woke me up in just a moment. Rokuro rushed out of the closet and embraced the queen's body before the monster can deliver its final blow. I know if you can see me now, you will have 7 hopes and more. Kyun worked so hard for you. And you didn't do anything. I know one day, if we meet again in heaven, I won't be able to look up at you or say that I have continued to live as the period. Your hope is so right now. You have to be strong to be able to say it with all my heart. The monster snatched its tentacles at you. Makes me shiver with fear. My heart wants to explode, but I have no choice. Rokuro, he smiled while biting his finger to solve the problem. Bloodletting tells yourself you can do it. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't go well sometimes. You activate blood moon release. And in that moment, I saw Ru in front of Rokuro. To reveal that I've become pathetic. But I hope you'll still be with me. She hugs him from behind and Rokuro is surprised. Feel all worries seem to vanish. His blood turned into a traditional outfit, the same fan, and thanks to the moon's blood-releasing state, he developed his storm dance skills. Next to the new look, Rokuro also regained his resilience and spirit. Without any hesitation, you're fighting like you're dancing. You glide through the air, forming a blood storm that enveloped the room. The monster was surrounded in a split second, and without reacting, they were slashed from many directions. At the same time, the storm dance skills make the Rokuro, covered in blood costumes, turn it into a cherry blossom rain, as sharp as a sword. You move like a dancer. Unleashed a storm of blades tearing everything apart. While fighting, Rokuro no longer feels afraid, because travel is always there to give you strength. Dancing with you. I remember the summer festivals back home. And the sweet moments they used to have. I know I've never really won. Just trying to look like that. But even so, travel still believe and praise you strong. Still call you a great guy. These memories give me the strength to fight. Help you dodge the enemy's attacks gently. When I remember the tenderness of Ru, Rokuro leaping towards the enemy. Control the fan with one hand. When I approach you, do a special dance. Attack from different directions. Turn around the monster, without giving it a chance to defend itself. All the things that you do, while still dancing on one leg. The speed is increasing. The lines cut from the fan. Sharp blood sweeping through the air. Ru always by your side. It allows you to use a skill called Rambo. Synchronous dance festival. So when the dance is over, the monster's body was cut to pieces, and his head fell to the floor. Rokuro gave a winning smile. Because I know that as long as Ru still believes in me, even if it's just pretending, it's more important that everything is okay. I can confidently tell you when I see you. You're a wonderful and proud boy. Somewhere else, Shiki to where the clouds are hiding behind the bushes to report that the monsters are gone. She still doesn't move, so Shiki asked if she was still scared and if she was okay. The cloud reminded her that her parents were dead. You don't care about death anymore. Shiki admits that's also a reasonable answer. I told you not to die. What surprised you? You said if you die. Both her parents and herself have failed. But if you can live and smile in the future, it proves that they didn't lose. You have to keep living and fighting. We have to fight against despair. To do that, you need to give me strength. Because I will fight too. Shiki promised she'll face the man who stole her family. So if in the future you ever feel like living, tell them from the bottom of your heart that you did your best. Then he stood up and told the clouds to stay there, because the monster was destroyed. So for now, no one's going to find you easily. But I still ask you to be ready. Hide if something happens like before. The clouds stopped me before I left and asked, will you really go? Because it's impossible. But Shiki insists you won't lose. There's no evidence to guarantee that's wrong. My heart tells me I'll never give up. And that's enough. Shiki turned to look at her with steady eyes. I declare I won't give in. Before any despair. Because that's the faith I've found. In another scene, Nato wakes up in the rubble, surrounded by his followers. He sat up and asked how long he had been unconscious. They answered in about 15 minutes. They're sorry you had to take the blast from the monster. Because if it was just you, it wouldn't have happened. Nato stood up and told them not to worry, and immediately start moving forward. Group of retainers, I wonder where you're going in that situation. But he calmly replied he would go to the central temple. That's where your students are. As Nato moves forward, Shiki infiltrated the base to face a guy named Tsubakiri. Recognizes the uniform of the Momotaro organization. I remember what Kyoza said. Tsubakiri is a Momotaro from Kyoto. It's capable of controlling dead bodies with bacteria. Shiki asked if he was really a Tsubakiri. But he only answered with one question. Asked the name of Shiki. Without hesitation, Shiki professed the name. He said he was the one who would crush Momotaro. Tsubakiri was excited to hear that name. Because you're the one he's looking for. When you have confirmed your identity. Shiki asked how he could do that. How dare he insult the dead like that? I can't understand. What does he think so insensitive? But Tsubakiri just laughed out loud. I told you not to talk like a human. Because only buying Motaro or people have the right. People who sell demons like Shiki don't have that right. These words made Shiki indignant without hesitation. When you pull out your weapon and point it at him, he said it would make him shut up. Meanwhile, Jin, running at full speed through the underground tunnels to find and confirm whether Shiki is alive or dead. When Jin gets close, Jomogi appears from the darkness, blocking his way. Jin stopped. His eyes are full of murder, but Jomogi does not notice. She asked if he was going to see the body, the death of his shallow comrade with him. Jin was stunned to hear the word corpse. So Jomogi, tell him your boss killed him a long time ago. I don't see any reaction. She asked Jin, are you angry and sarcastic about a demonic? Have a team spirit. That sounds disgusting. Jin replied coldly, there's no team spirit. You only care about your own goals. But Jomogi didn't believe it. Your aura can't be hidden right now. Take off your gloves and prepare for battle. Jin, it was because there was a Momotaro in front of him. Your goal is to destroy them all. The Yumogi also announced that she would kill the demigods. And soon the battle broke out. Jin activates menstrual blood release, the 7 punishment attacks. However, the Yumogi managed to block the attack strangely. As the smoke melts away, Yumogi coming out of a box. That you made yourself without getting hurt. She informed me that with that technique I wouldn't be able to cut her. But Jin, he gave a cold smile and said the better. On another battlefield, Tsubakiri uses Shiki's weapon for a few seconds. And mocked me for trying to fight him with a gun. That's silly. With special blood. You should have done more than that. Shiki cut him off. At that moment he released blood. Turned it into a heavy cannon attached to the arm. Shiki remembers the bud. The clouds laughed when they saw the bodies of their parents. And her words. You always knew this day would come. I remember what Nato said. I can't control my blood. But I immediately dismissed it. Shiki shouted it doesn't matter. Then unhesitatingly pulled the trigger and fired straight at the Tsubakiri. A single shot explodes the entire area. The walls were destroyed. In the blink of an eye the fire raged. Sitting in the sea of fire, Shiki claims that even though he can't control his blood, I never give up for that reason either. Tsubakiri acknowledged the extent of the attack, far beyond his expectations. But Shiki just laughed. Asked him why he dodged a blow. Maybe he was scared. Episode 9 Tsubakiri confessed that blow and ETO at all. It even made him more interested. So now he's really serious. At that time the coffin next to the lid, revealing the corpse of a Momotaro. He said the Dementors need to be completely exterminated. Shiki is angry because she can't believe it. Tsubakiri dared to turn the corpse of his comrade into a puppet. But he said, Shiki is stupid. Because only fools believe that. My own standard is true when a type VI withdraws wide LAN. Some people will say it's just a flu. Then we organized a protest. Some people don't eat animals and sneak out to believe in something that is not wrong. But only fools can impose that on others. He also made it clear that Momotaro Kira volunteered to be a puppet. Right then, the puppet raises its hand and emits gravitational waves. In just a few seconds, Shiki knelt down, feeling her body heavy. Tsubakiri explained that it was his extended capacity. When the target is Momotaro, he can always control their abilities. Here puppets can mix bacteria with oxygen in the air to change weight. Let the puppet control it at will. Again the puppet. I repeat that all demigods must be destroyed. I was surprised to hear that for the first time. He didn't know if it was hatred or obsession, but suppose that it's the admirable soul of a Momotaro. The puppet into the attack. Tsubakiri says if he's a soul, then he'll be your man. Because he thinks that revenge after death is what a knight should do. He asked if Shiki could withstand this gravity. But Shiki can't land. He just sinks to the ground. Somewhere else, NATO group trying to reach the base through the tunnel, but only met the unbreakable wall Dujomogi created. One offered to try another, but NATO stopped him. Maybe all the entrances are blocked. Above is the old temple and there are many tourists. It cannot be destroyed because it will cause a serious accident. The rest of us think NATO is boring to want to evacuate tourists because they don't have the same authority as the Momotaro agency. NATO thought for a moment, and Juji ran to the newspaper. During the search, the demonic reaction was detected. A group of Momotaro came in, and all the injured have been evacuated. But part of the support team and the students are still trapped in the Yumogi's box. NATO understands that if it does not act in a timely manner, those trapped will be in danger. Yet I remain adamant that evacuating tourists is a top priority. Before breaking the wall, at that time a man came to the newspaper. I found a girl muttering outside. That's Homer. Confused person sorry for a person. Like he showed up in the city. Beautiful Kyoto is unacceptable. She made it clear that she was here to help. Juji was delighted to see you. After introducing yourself, you said your dream was to lose your virginity in girlfriend's house after date in uniform. Homer was shocked to hear that. Because she's wearing a school uniform to avoid attention. Juji kept pleading, you choose yourself. NATO stopped him in time and told him not to say anything. But that only makes Juji more angry. In a fit of anger, Juji shouted that it was a dream, and the sincere thought of a good and exemplary student. So a good teacher should support the dreams of her students. NATO is just quietly watching. I thought I was too naive to believe Juji is a mature person. Skip Juji. NATO turned to Homer and said she's here now. I want to ask you a favor. He explained that there is a way to canvas people without AI being left in the temple, but I still don't understand today. Then they both went to the forest and NATO asked for Juji. Keep the phone always connected from the temple. Juji asked what they were going to do. NATO replied that you'll cause a small earthquake from the forest, causing landslides and forcing visitors to evacuate. You and Homer are in the mountain behind the hall, next to the temple, where they'll trigger the landslide. Juji asked if that was okay. NATO assured no one will be involved or killed. A mild earthquake, it may not make people move, but if there's a landslide, they will surely have to leave. When the guards upstairs were on alert, guests will sense the danger and quickly evacuate. NATO told Juji, use your skills to confirm everything. Guests have left to not miss AI. Juji asked to be SAO to cause landslide, so NATO told Homer, recall the blood giant you once called. Before that, everyone was shocked to hear that. Homer immediately objected to saying it was impossible. Because you can't control that creature. NATO assured me everything will be fine. As long as I'm with you. You still insist that this is a bad idea. It is likely to have as serious consequences as before. NATO has responded. Then call Juji to announce that the plan is cancelled. They need to come up with a new solution as quickly as possible. If delay, who are trapped in the box of Yumogi will be in danger. Before leaving, NATO turns to Homer. You're expelled because they don't need useless people. Homer was stunned. Please wait a moment. She explained, to call out an aggressive giant that I can't control. It's really scary. NATO said her fear was the problem. But the bigger problem is not trying to change. I know about past events you've caused. But some of them also have a past to carry. But they still come to this academy because they want to change. And now I want to know why you're really here. Homer, you came here because you wanted to learn how to control your blood. NATO says the blood is yours. And if you can't change it, you have to change yourself. Finished listening, Homer shed tears and shouted that she wanted to change. Without hesitation, she bit her finger to release blood, creating the blood giants again. NATO tells Juji they will continue the plan. Immediately the blood giants began to attack. Homer panicked because he couldn't control the destruction, the damage it causes. Sorry for being helpless. NATO jumps into the air to dodge the blow. Then it's okay. You don't have to apologize. The punches create a powerful earthquake. Keep visitors in the temple on alert. And when landslides happen, the guards spread out to create a sense of danger. Encourage people to evacuate. Not long after, everybody started running out of the area. And Juji quickly uses the power, confirmed that there is no AI nearby. When you're sure, he reported to Nato that the evacuation was complete. Nato walked up to Homer and fainted. You with just one stroke, the blood giant immediately disappeared. Homer, sorry for not being helpful, and then went completely unconscious. Nato says you've done a great job though. Because I know you're in the dark. So much I believe, there's always someone who can take someone out of the darkness. And the academy is the place for that. Meanwhile, Jomogi continued to attack Jin with all his might. But Jin quickly dodged and backed to keep distance. Ji realizes it's dangerous to rush into recklessly. So I wonder, should we temporarily keep our distance? To take a closer look at her abilities. But just in time you jump back. Jomogi built a box behind his back and locked you inside. She said you can't go out without your permission. And now the interesting part. Soon enough, Jin realizes the walls in the box are shrinking. It makes the space inside smaller. I screamed that I would break it. But Jomogi says it's impossible. She explained, the control of demonic blood requires intense concentration and strong will, which in this context is very difficult to achieve. The box continues to shrink, and she said that in that state of confinement, I can't concentrate. Jin thought for a second and realized this feeling is so familiar. Come on, explain the human brain's inherent fear of tight spaces. As the space gets smaller, the panic will increase. I can't use the demon blood that I've always believed in. Jin will surely be crushed and there is no escape. She watched as the box almost hit the ground. But there's a VA sound. Touch the metal echoes from the inside. It makes you suspicious. I wonder if Jin is using blood. But she immediately dismissed the idea, because no AI can stay calm in space. Asphyxiated like that. But at the right time, the box starts to crack raw and explode, so Jean gets out. Looks stronger than before. She immediately backed away, and Jean said he'd lived and slept before in the pipes of an abandoned building. It's dirty and smelly. So compared to that, this box is a palace. Zomogi just called you boy. But right now, a head of the experimental monster rolled to her feet. Iki appeared and asked, you really think you can kill me with these tricks? Such nonsense, Sao. Ikari is angry at being belittled and asked to let go of his anger. Zomogi doesn't react. Jin simply told Ikari to stay out of the way. That makes it even more. Ikari is angry because she feels ordered. He said he'll fight Momotaro here. But when you look closely at Jomugi, he shut up his red face. Ikari is both embarrassed and angry. I asked what kind of clothes you were wearing. You can't show off your flesh for no reason. Get out all the spare parts. Zomogi is not understand what's wrong. Made Ikari scream that she should think about the location, time and circumstances. That kind of overexposure makes you uncomfortable. When you're too angry, Ikari did not hesitate. Activate the release of his blood moon. Yumogi though? Keep fighting. And confirm. The two kids are not my competition. So you're going to end them both immediately. Ikari, fast forward and throw a kick in your face. Makes you fly backwards. Romogi pretend not Sao. But it's amazing inside. You can't believe the speed. Even thought Ikari was about to break her neck. Once again Ikari triggers the release of Moon's blood. This time he revealed a skill called Hysteria. Devil skill comes from Ikari's fury. A lot of things that aid in combat can be born of blood. To the point of self. Ikari doesn't know what's coming next. Depending on the intensity of anger, your power has also changed. However, you can only use the skill 3 times a day. Your blood has turned into a pair of shoes. I think I lost 7 this time. Because anger is not enough. Many Yumogi don't understand what's going on. So let's say that Ikari is kind of speed-oriented, which is completely different from your skill set. Meanwhile, after a successful evacuation, Nato quickly returned to the tunnel, standing in front of the wall. You activate Blood Moon release with a technique called regenerative flooding. From there he created an army of blood soldiers. Shoot arrows straight at the Yumogi's wall. To destroy it, the ground shook violently. It wasn't long before the wall was completely leveled. Open the entrance to the base. Nato explained, I controlled the damage not to affect the temple. But there's a high probability that the Kyoto headquarters will be destroyed. Even if it's a big loss. You insist. There is nothing more important than life. And what's urgent right now is to rescue the team, because there's not much time left. Then, NATO and its members immediately entered the tunnel. While this place is still shaking, inside, Shiki is still being weighed down by Momotaro's gravity. But Tsubakiri, I started noticing there was too much noise outside. Somewhere else, Ikari is angry that the whole area seems to be about to collapse. Before Jomogi could say, "What surprised you to see? NATO and his team are behind us." NATO demands that the Jomogi surrender without resistance, but Ikari immediately objected. "I said I'm in the middle of something, so don't get in the way." NATO ignored and told the Yomogi, "I understood your ability. Be sure the headquarters, Kyoto, is closed and you're fighting." You didn't answer anything. "But NATO, you must have run out of energy and can't escape." Yomogi just smiled confidently, said, "I can't run away. There are too many demons in front of you. Because you are a Momotaro. You remember, your mission is to destroy all demons." So she took off her clothes to fight seriously. They claimed to kill them. Meanwhile, Tsubakiri decided to end the match. Take the opportunity of the Tukir loopholes. Shiki suddenly escapes from the weight of gravity and immediately uses blood to build a gun. Shot at the Tukir. However, the entire attack is blocked by the gravitational field from Momotaro. Tsubakiri reminds Shiki, "You didn't have the strength to resist." Then he showed another trick. It makes the oxygen in the air 100 times heavier. He explained, "Imagine a circle and compress it. We'll create a super compressed oxygen sphere that weighs hundreds of tons." Immediately the puppet threw the sphere at the Shiki, who can't escape. VA touch does not cause explosion. That direct force into the contact site. Compress and stay in place. This makes the entire force that's hundreds of times the weight of a Shiki. It hits your body from the inside, completely crushed from the inside. Shiki immediately spat blood and fell to the ground, writhing in pain. Tsubakiri shows 7 real hopes. "I can't believe the son of the devil is so weak." Shiki couldn't understand what he was talking about. Tsubakiri was revealed in his time. The devil is a legendary warrior, recognized as the most powerful man in history. And it's Shiki who carries the blood of that demon. Episode 10. At this time, everywhere began to show signs of collapse. I remember what Shiki said. "If you want to live, cheer me up. Remember the determination in your eyes." The clouds decided to leave the hiding place and enter the base to find you. At the headquarters of the Momotaro Foundation, Samide is there. There's a new girl named Hina Momoda. He introduced himself as deputy commander of the headquarters. Without any hesitation, she goes follow Samide everywhere, because it's an honor being with a celebrity like you. You try to talk, but Samide bluntly said he wasn't very good at communication and just working alone. That surprised Hina, because working in pairs is the rule of the Momotaro organization. Samide ignored it and went for coffee. But Hina still followed Theo and asked, "Do you know anything about the devil's son that people have been talking about lately? Because you've just been transferred from another area, so the information is not clear." Sammy said that in the past, there's a demonic entity that almost destroyed Momotaro's organization. It's called the demon god Kishin. It is said that the devil had children with many women and give them the power. Hina felt strange because if the devil had so many children, not everywhere there are his descendants. Sao. Samide explained, "Only those who inherit the power of the devil. He is called his son." Hina deduced so. There are also children who do not inherit power. Samide confirms that it's mostly powerless. But the strange thing is that at certain times, the child of the devil will appear. Surprise at that time. Another member of the organization came out and said, "These children are born at the right time. Momotaro is corrupting the demons." Hina was surprised to see that person, and he introduced himself as commander of Team 21, named Xenia Momoiwa. He asked Hina if she knew why the war was going on. Momotaro and semi-demons have lasted for thousands of years. It's not over yet. When Hina couldn't answer, "I blame you." Then you say, the first time the devil appeared was when first they almost completely annihilated the demonic. Since then, it's been the same time. There are semi-demons again, inheriting the power of the devil. That's why the war never ends. Without the devil, the demons were destroyed a long time ago. But because they still exist, they know how to live with people. So Hina has to understand why that's a problem. Even if you're not interested in answering, because he's so arrogant. Hina still replied though. Momotaro's mission is to protect humans from demons and the existence of Momotaro. Both demons need to be kept secret from humans, so they can't live together. Xenia shouted that she understood it wrong. The problem is what happens after that. In battles with semi-demons, people are often caught up in, and politicians, Momotaro will be involved. Quiet everything. They also ask for things. It's like using demonic blood to make drugs or make other requests. So if the devil doesn't hide, politicians can't take advantage of them. Samite interjected. Xenia didn't have to be loud because Hina understood. Xenia wasn't happy with that intervention. But Hina asked, it's about people in power, ready to cooperate like this? Is it because they really want to protect people? Whether or not this question makes Xenia. He laughed at her and called her an idiot. And tell them why they're helping is to make sure that when something happens, they will be the first to be protected. Finally, Xenia turned to Samide. He said he was sorry. When someone like you, I have to work with a rookie like Hina. Samide didn't respond to those provocations. But Xenia went on to say and insist that, no matter how good Samide is, if you've ever lost an arm and had to wear a prosthetic arm just because a kid sold him, there's nothing left to say. The organization sent him a new soldier as a partner. Maybe it's an implicit message from a superior that you should withdraw from the front line to move into a training role. And it's time you should give up your position. But put that aside. He declared straight, I will be the one to kill the child of the devil. It will open the way to the top. Suddenly Samite finally spoke up. He warned himself that he was the one who would kill Shiki. So Xenia, you can do whatever you want with the children of other demons. Xenia asked again, is this to avenge an old wound? Or because of some old debt? Even if you don't get an answer, Xenia still turned her back. Hina asked Samide. Maybe Shiki is not the only child of the devil. Samide replied not. Back to Shiki. Tsubakiri says that since ancient times, there are always 8 children of the devil. Shiki is one of them. If those children awaken to the power of the devil, it would be very dangerous. That's why they need to be destroyed. However, studying them will help you better understand the enemy. So he's going to turn Shiki into something. The experiment starts today, and it's important to keep the Shiki alive. So maybe he'll beat you half alive, half dead before taking it. Right now, Shiki tried to get up and asked him to shut up. But Tsubakiri, he was amazed at the ability of the demons to recover. This makes him jealous. Momotaro is not capable of that. Shiki says she doesn't care what he says. Because you'll never forgive. It will make him pay for all that's been done. Just for a moment, Shiki used his blood to rebuild the gun and fired a series of shots. But Tsubakiri and puppets, the Momotaro he controls, can all be avoided. Soon, Shiki lost strength and collapsed due to too much blood loss. No matter how much you try, you can't move either, or pull out their weapons and they're in danger. Tsubakiri said coldly, even if you are the child of the devil, if it can't be used, blood is no longer worth anything. Fragments from the ceiling began to fall. This place is about to collapse. Tsubakiri decided to end it all. He's using the puppet's ability to manipulate gravity to crush Shiki. When you are immobile, Tsubakiri asked that. Should he kill her in that room now? No. It shows that he's fully aware of the presence of clouds. Even if you are hiding, I know I was discovered. The clouds have no choice but to come face to face. When you see Shiki, she asked Tsubakiri, did he kill your parents in the same way? Not like that. Tsubakiri calmly replied, he doesn't remember anyone. For killing insects, you don't have to pay attention to their faces. The angry cloud accused him of being evil. Because her parents were gentle and didn't do anything wrong. Tsubakiri was disgusted by that innocence. He feels nervous when I hear a sail. The devil says such love. Shiki shouted at him to shut up. At the same time, asked the clouds to flee. When you hear that name, Tsubakiri finally remembers who her parents are. He remembered the two of them constantly calling out the name of the cloud and asked him to spare your life. Tsubakiri laughed at the scene. And that's why he deliberately let you survive. Their faces when it's full of relief. But then he turned pale when he announced after killing them, he'll kill you the same way. He promised that the daughter they loved, you will die in fear and loneliness. And he told them to imagine their daughter's face on her deathbed. What will it look like? The clouds fell when I heard that, and Tsubakiri burst out laughing. Don't he expect that a sail? The devil will die in peace. The clouds panicked and cried, but Shiki's scream made her stop. Even if you're dying, Shiki still tried to get up and shouted at her not to cry. That will only make the enemy happier. He swore to kill the enemy. So I can cry with you later. Not because of the pain. It's because they survived. Tsubakiri laughing at you. He said he was crying and didn't understand why. Shiki again asked him to shut up and scream. I cry because I have a heart. You really wanted to avoid Cho. The clouds must face despair. Because you know how it feels. The clouds were stunned to hear those words. Shiki remembers the deceased father. Losing someone important is painful. And anyone with a heart will understand the pain. As well as her parents' sense of helplessness. That's why you cry. If someone can't understand that, they are the real demons. Subakiri was angry at those words, screamed at a worm like Shiki. Not qualified to talk about feelings. He puts gravity on the Shiki again. Because your dirty heart deserves to be destroyed. Together with myself. Even if the body can't stand it. Shiki is still trying to resist the weight. And Subakiri is delighted. I told him I'd let Shiki live long enough to see it. The clouds are crushed just like you. The clouds stood dumbfounded with fear and despair. I can't move. She was still upset because she couldn't protect her father. The day he was killed by Samide. You're just too weak, physically and mentally. After all that time, you think you can finally fight. But there's nothing we can do right now. Subakiri continued to laugh at her, saying, the amount of blood in the Shiki is almost exhausted, so you can't rely on it anymore. Surprise puppet that he directed directly at the cloud to attack. Shiki tried to stand up. There is only one thought in your heart. You don't want to regret it again. At the right time, Shiki can feel the change in the air. Bacteria. Momotaro is adjusting the density of space. He desperately sought the power to protect the clouds. The blood in you exploded. It's a big fire. That Subakiri is also unpredictable. Now the story explains that every child of the devil inherited a distinct element: fire, water, clay, wind, ice, darkness, and light. Each person inherits only one of these 8 attributes. The element of Shiki is fire. You are the fire god, or affectionately known as demonic inflammation after the explosion. Even Shiki doesn't understand what just happened. But now, both your shape and your power have changed. Subakiri guessed it was the power of the demon god. Shiki only thinks one thing. Now you can fight. In the blazing fire that surrounds Shiki, warning, you will destroy the entire Subakiri. Right here when you feel the air. Subakiri understood that he was dealing with the devil, and he admitted that presence is really dangerous. However, he also knew that Shiki had almost died, so if you act now, there will be no problems. Suddenly, a bullet from Shiki pierced through his shoulder. He set his arm on fire. Subakiri hurriedly took off his jacket so as not to be burned. He was amazed at the terrible power. Shiki is made from a little blood. However, Shiki suddenly collapsed in pain. Now you realize I can't control blood or fire anymore. The body is too damaged, exhausted. Subakiri laughed. If you weren't so badly injured, you'd end up. Maybe it was different, but because you can get out of control again. So he decided he'd take you back as a corpse. He's increasing gravity to crush Shiki one more time, and he kept saying that people like them are worms. Bugs live in the dark, their deaths are welcome. He turned to the clouds. Your parents died in disgrace. You will also suffer the same fate. Shiki shouted at him to shut up. What the cloud parents did wrong? They're just peaceful people like everyone else. You can't accept a job just because it's demonic. But to live a lonely life, you're not allowed to dream of happiness. Subakiri, they say that demons don't deserve to be happy, but Shiki insists on getting happy. No one needs to meet any conditions. The words that startled the clouds. Think back to when you asked your mother, do they deserve to be happy or not? Shiki, he looked at her with confident eyes and said, I can live with a smile on my face to wherever I want to go. Look at the landscapes I love. Then the light returned to the cloud's eye. I remember crying about what my father used to say. There are no creatures in this world, no right to be happy. Immediately Subakiri got angry, screamed that demons shouldn't talk about such ideals. And he will destroy them all, along with their future. With his strongest technique, he raised his hand, creating a giant black hole. Start sucking up everything around you. The rubble walls are all caught up in. Despite being pressed by gravity, Shiki tried to stand up. Use the leftover blood to turn it into a weapon. Subakiri chuckled. Reminds me there's no more blood to make bullets. So there's nothing you can do. But Shiki ignored and Yangon, he said to the cloud. My life from now on, it must be amazing. Because you deserve to be happy, and I'll always support that future of yours again. Subakiri rage, screaming that demons have no future. The black hole he created started to point straight at the Shiki. The cloud remembered what my mother had said. There will be people and new experiences come into my life, and in there for sure, someone will support your happiness. Think about parents. Cloud. Summon courage from the bottom of your heart to shout Shiki cheer. Come on. Come on. I hear your voice. Shiki smiled and immediately the fire that once surrounded you is burning again. Before Subakiri could react, Shiki thanks Cloud for keeping his promise. You didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. Shoot out a powerful fire-coated blood bullet through the trick that the puppet is doing. Dissolve the attack and devour everything around you. Subakiri standing motionless, dying to see the fire coming. You can't do anything, and he's completely consumed in the flames of the devil god when it's over. It burned in a sea of fire. Exhausted, Shiki returns to normal shape despite being very tired. You're still trying to say. I heard your voice so clearly. From the depths of the heart. Episode 11. After being defeated, Subakiri lies motionless on the ground to feel the last moments of my life. And admitted I underestimated Shiki. About to lose consciousness, I tried to look at my fallen comrade. It's Momotaro that you use as a puppet. And can't help but remember the past. Subakiri, I wanted to be a researcher in the department. Momotaro, because you're not at all care about the death of others. The morning, repeated over the course of the day. Semi-demonic individuals. It feels good for you to say. But one day he met a Manaka Momobi. A man I hate so much, because of the ability to ruin other people's lives. In the blink of an eye, when Manaka asked me to work with him, Subakiri refused. But only the next day. You've been transferred to Manaka's team, because a superior order cannot be resisted. Manaka is a person full of energy and passion, very trusted by the team. There's even compassion, to the point of praying for demonic beings as well. Even though they worked at the same time, Subakiri still can't understand the people of Manaka since childhood. When his parents were murdered by demons, my heart seems to have frozen forever. I've never had a fire of hatred or yearning for revenge. I think I feel more relieved. Because there's no one to worry about. His parents were busy with work at the Momotaro department, and hardly at home. So when they die, Subakiri has no special reaction. The next day, after telling Manaka about his family, Manaka took me home. Sex with wife and daughter. And I started inviting you to dinner every day. Originally Subakiri, I feel like my life is messed up. It's like being lost in a maze. For you, human life is simple with circles, birth and old age and death. But when you start engaging with other people, life has become complicated and messy. Even though I used to think it was annoying. Your point of view changed for the first time in years. I can feel the warmth of family meals when there's a chance. Subakiri asked Manaka why Sao chose to marry. Even if you are doing such a dangerous job, it's nothing more than a weakness. But Manaka answered me. Family is the source of motivation, so that you must be alive to go back home. Even so, Subakiri holds the view that what is important to a person, it will become their weakness. And then it came true. On one occasion, Manaka walked into the house in the Onosoni. I saw a child selling demons, and in a moment, I mistook it for my daughter. It was that hesitation that led the demonic child to escape. And its power is so out of control that many people on the street died. The whole area is covered in blood. The worst thing is, Manaka's wife and daughter happened to be there. Manaka at that time can kill the Kier demon child, but it cost you your life. You can't protect your family. His wife and daughter died while he was helpless. In the last moment of life, Manaka admitted that he was wrong to show mercy. From the demons, Subakiri heard the last words of Manaka. That having feelings for a demon is a mistake. If you were colder and more cruel from the beginning, your family didn't die. Manaka used a bit of a slur to say, the demons must be completely destroyed. There's no compromise. Even if the subject is a child. Subakiri, I can feel the bitterness in that last word. Manaka also thanks to Subakiri. Use your body to keep fighting, even when you're dead. And so by manipulating the body of the Manaka, Subakiri rose to command without knowing it. Now when defeated, I tried to approach the body, Manaka, and confirmed that they still have not 7 defeats. You must fulfill the ideal of justice that Manaka left behind. While demons exist in this world, they must continue. Fight together to destroy them. But in that moment, Subakiri stopped when he saw his body. Manaka is being consumed by fire, and I know I've really lost that friend. On the other side, Shiki realizes this place is about to collapse. Hurry up and warn the clouds to leave. It would be dangerous to stay. But before I can take a step, my body suddenly collapsed in a split second. Make the clouds scream. Because your body starts bleeding a lot. At the same time, Nato is very helpless because Yumogi locked herself in a box that they can't break. But Nato reminds us the Yumogi no longer had the strength to stop them. So just leave her there. The most important thing now is work. Rescue inside base. They can't waste any more time. Without hesitation, the group immediately entered the base. Jin was surprised to see the Kyoza. He is still alive and treating Shiki's wounds. Kyoza, he said he almost died from a cut in his neck. He drank his own blood to recover. You're lucky to be alive again. Kyoya sneaked into the base for treatment. For the others. And now people are preparing to evacuate. Nato moves to the side. Tsubakiri is dying and calling him a pitiful man. He asked him how he felt about his demonic powers. Shiki Tsubakiri anti. Admittedly, the power of Shiki is impressive. It's like you're burning all my soul to fight. Jin wondered what the demonic power was, but Kyoya said he'll explain later, because they need to get out quickly. After everyone left, Yumogi just left the hideout and caught. Meet the lifeless body of Tsubakiri. He was stabbed by Nato. Her heart was in shock and unbelievable. All I can do is remind myself not to die. Because your daughter has just been born. After this disclosure, there's a narrative that no AI knows the reason for Sao. Tsubakiri married again. But you've obviously been influenced by Manaka. Even though many people have said you're weird or scary, Tsubakiri remained steadfast in living his way. A man who met someone else. From there, lived fully in spirit. Momotaro until his death at the age of 31. Sometime later, Siki wakes up in an inn place due to a semi-demon. Manager owner, the bar said the other students are resting in the room, so Siki doesn't have to worry. During Shiki, trying to deal with what just happened, Nato came to give him a bottle of water and remind you that you actually defeated Tsubakiri. Even with a little comfort, Shiki is still sad. They say the Cloud's parents won't be coming back. Nato nodded in confirmation. They have lost too much to be happy. But at least they're alive to move on. Nato, open the window so Shiki can see the morning sun. I advise them to value living, to see another dawn. Then the students get on board, once again to go back to the academy, officially parted headquarters in Kyoto. On the way, Shiki said next time I want to travel normally. He promised to take care of the Clouds, tell her to come visit whenever she wants. Before they left, the Clouds called out Shiki's name to say goodbye. She smiled and thanked you, and hoped to see you again soon. Back to the academy. Nato summons the whole class. Go back and explain that. The demonic unit is divided into 3 units. Combat unit, reconnaissance unit and medical unit. There are many other details. But the important thing is that after graduation, each person will be assigned to one of these 3 units. It depends on their blood type. The Nato lecture interrupted when Shiki kept taking notes frantically. But he nods. Sleepiness in the middle. Nato found that most people are not focused, especially Ikari, who was fast asleep in the classroom, calmly approached. Nato snaps hands to wake you up and warn if there's no motivation to learn, best to leave the class. At the same time, he also blamed Shiki for being too noisy. But the classroom bell rings and Nato announced the end of the lesson. Before everyone leaves, tell me in the next tutorial. They'll be assigned dorm rooms. Because this is a boarding system, each room will have 2 people, so they had to pick their roommates quickly. Shiki was very excited to hear that. Because this is like a picnic. On the contrary, Ikari feels uncomfortable. The idea of living with strangers. Juji stood up and pointed out that there was one more person, and Nato explained the extra raw. The boss will be in the same room with me. This sentence startled the whole class, because it's like being locked up in prison. The world while everyone is moving, with different reactions. Queen suddenly announced that she would be in the same room as Rokuro. Juji can't believe his ears. Are they in a special relationship? Or not? Rokuro immediately denied. But Juji approaches with tension. He thought Rokuro was on the same side. I will live alone for the rest of my life just like you. Before that noise, Nato interrupts and insists that men and women will separate room. Queen asked again. If so, the I will take care of the Rokuro. Siki was surprised and asked what she was going to say. Qin, start listing each task you think is necessary. Wake you up close in the morning. Prepare breakfast, brush your teeth. Help to dress and prepare the lunchbox. Assistance to go to the toilet. And before you leave home, You have to be close again. When I get home, I'll cook dinner, shower with you, let me brush your teeth, and before going to bed, let's get close again. After hearing it all, Shiki honestly admitted, I don't know how it feels now. I am annoyed or jealous. Juji can only agree with a short sentence. They both looked at Vokuro. Ikari at this time shouted a loud protest. Male and female living in the same room. It's not acceptable. It's something that should only happen after the age of 20. Shiki is talking about common sense, but using all the profane language. Both Shiki and Juji teased. He's definitely still a virgin, even though they themselves are. They make fun of themselves, thanks to Homer, trying to convince Queen to change her mind. Otherwise, only the Rokuro will benefit. But Homer became extremely confused. She packed up and apologized. Said if you weren't there, everyone would be even. She accepts being outdoors like a wild dog. It's enough for a cartoon box. Her words shocked Shiki severely. He shouted for Jin and asked him to stay with the teacher. Jin calmly replied that he didn't mind being alone. It makes other students nervous. Ikari review. Jin doesn't know how to read the situation at all. It's funny that Jin really doesn't want to be alone. I want to be the most special. Shiki agreed with that statement and asked Ikari, do you want to be in the same room with me? Juji was shocked to find himself excluded from the discussion, and Ikari screamed loudly in protest, because he hates living with other people. Everyone immediately understood that Ikari was no different. Jin doesn't know how to read the situation either. Juji is sad because he feels excluded. Rokuro, I asked Juji if he wanted to stay with me. Because you're a little scared yourself. Juji turned to look. Queen, who is busy arguing with Nato over orders, forbidden men and women in the same room. She reasoned that if she couldn't stay with Rokuro, there's nothing he can do, so they can't separate. Juji initially giggled ridiculously, but then the expression was deformed with anger. He got a little angry at Rokuro. Because what makes you uncomfortable? Especially being famous. Pity for sure. Rokuro, I want to brag about my lucky life. And that makes Juji feel like he's being tortured every day. Rokuro starts to shiver. I don't understand what's going on. But Juji, that is the way you get to keep quiet. My spirit. Too scared, Rokuro just accepted. Maybe I will die alone. Suddenly Queen approached and gently reassured. You don't have to worry because you're still inside. Shiki was still thinking. Find a way to resolve the situation. Ikari suggested you share a room with the teacher. Shiki immediately refused. I want someone to talk to about love before sleeping. But Ikari countered that no one did that. Despite the rejection, Shiki started to talk. In high school, you couldn't go to school because you were suspended. Only when you level up. He was expelled before the school year started. So you've always dreamed of going on a picnic, like a normal student. Juji, he was surprised to hear Shiki say he went to high school. You can't do that because you woke up. Special power. Too early, if not for that reason. Juji has many student memories. He's really jealous of Shiki. Ikari also shared her situation as well. Even though I'm not interested in high school. The words that made Shiki ponder. You realize that everyone has their own story. His line of thought was interrupted when Nato remind people to stop wasting time. Decide quickly to take this opportunity. Shiki suggests using a modified version of the hammer-scissors game to decide whether to divide the room. Thanks this way. The whole group quickly agreed to be together. There's only one person left. Is Juji. There's no other choice. Juji, he agreed to be roommates with Nato. Shiki breathed a sigh of relief from the prospect of prison together with the teacher, but panicked when I found out that the person in the room with me was Jin. While Shiki kept whining loudly, Jin remained silent and remembered. Kyoya once said that Shiki was actually the son of the demon god. Jin doesn't care much though. You frankly think that Shiki is the son of the devil. Doesn't mean he should be too proud. Shiki was surprised by this blunt attitude. But Jin left before any AI could react. The room split is done. And people started talk about your roommate. Kyuan still trying to convince Nato let her stay with Rokuro while Shiki silently thought of the clouds. You wonder what you're doing right now. You must be trying a lot. Because you once told me, the future can change and they will be happy. With that belief, Shiki is determined to do his best for the present, to move towards a better future. The scene moves to Shinya. I'm at the Momotaro department right now. He thinks this is his chance. If he can defeat Shiki, who defeated Tsubikiri, his reputation will be greatly enhanced. It could be a stepping stone to toppling Samite, who let Shiki out of his hands before. The team reminded him. This time it would be beyond the authority of both. But Xenia ignored that and said if it worked, no one will speak out against it. Episode 12. After a tiring school day, the students are going to relax with a hot shower. Collective, Shiki complained about today's lesson and complained that NATO, it's a demon. Everyone is also tired. But after hearing Shiki's jokes, Jin walked away straight. Shiki didn't understand what. Ikari, get up too. The problem is that Shiki is too noisy. At least be quiet in the bathroom. Juji tries to empathize. Tell me to understand Shiki's joke. Make him happy a little bit. Juji, though, it is also clear, only responded because the atmosphere was too tense. Meanwhile, Rokuro didn't want to go out because the big queen was waiting. And you're really scared of her recent obsession. But Shiki and Juji thought you were bragging. Rokuro tried to deny, just in time for the queen to shout from the outside and urge them to get out. Immediately the whole mess. The boys tried to stop Queen from getting into the men's bathroom, but it's hard to keep. The door opened at that moment and it was NATO who showed up again. He announced that he would conduct evacuation drills. We've all got to gather at the gymnasium in less than 10 minutes. Don't understand what. The whole group got dressed and ran to the gymnasium, where they didn't even know existed. NATO scolded for being late, but Shiki explained that they were in the bathroom. We can't get out sooner. Maybe today as class is over. NATO says it will use the storm to conduct exercises, so the class accepted it because they realized it was raining so hard. The wind was blowing off the roof. NATO trauma, that this academy is not so weak as to suffer the storm affected. It's not just a disaster response drill. It's also about teamwork skills. Because if you can't betray quick response in unexpected situations, they're not going to be useful in any unit. I've prepared everything necessary, so we all have to stay in the gymnasium until there is a new order. Before leaving the NATO patrol, just tell them to have dinner first. Everyone feels strange because the training is so simple to the point of not knowing what to do. Rokuro guesses for sure this is a trap. Shiki also agreed. I noticed a cart with a lot of stuff. And a pot. Makes someone suspicious. Shiki claims that if you open that pot, it will explode, and offered to shoot from a distance because there was no bomb disposal equipment. Angry Ikari stopped. Please don't explode the food. Shiki said I was just kidding. But Ikari thought the truth and tried to cause trouble. Homer is constantly sorry if he offended you. I was annoyed to call them all idiots. Instead of wasting time, she stepped up and opened the pot inside only curry. You see, everyone breathes and quickly prepares food. Ikari said they were lucky that Shiki didn't have time to blow up the pot. But Shiki, I am not the first to suspect. So it's all Jin's fault. Jin explained that I look at that kind of pot just because I think it's curry in there. So Shiki concludes that he's a curry fanatic. Ignore that. Shiki asked if anyone wanted to eat his vegetables. Because you don't like it. Shiki's favorite food is meat. Green vegetables are not at all. It's a very normal kind of thing. Like any other boy in the country. Homer reminded me that being picky is not good, but Shiki said she didn't understand what green vegetables did. Next, we know that Homer's favorite dish is stir-fried rice, but you don't really want to accept the excess of others. There's no other choice. Even if you don't like it, Shiki still has to eat the fried rice with curry. At that moment you were horrified to see Ikari went to get more food, loudly accused of cheating. Ikari calmly replied that there was still a lot of food. If you want, just eat fast. Hear that Shiki immediately plug in. Eat your portions in just a few seconds and run for more. Now I know what Jin doesn't like is spicy food, so just quietly eat my curry. Ikari reported that there was not much food left, but Rokuro just sat and watched. Be surprised by the food of your friends. Queen asked if you wanted more. But Rokuro refused and explained eating a lot will be upset. You're glad to have a flan though. Favorite sweet. Hear that cue and suddenly angry. Grab Rokuro. He shook hard and asked if he liked flan better or liked her better. Rokuro scared green face. And the story reveals that in your life, my favorite thing is flan. But you're in evidence. Severe anxiety, so it's easy to feel unwell. The opposite. Queen has a special interest in clumsy guys. I'm currently very interested in Rokuro. She continued to shake, and claims to be able to make you a pot. Flan giant. Rokuro admits it will make you happy. So I'm asking you to say, you're the one you like the most. Rokuro tried to explain that's not what he meant. Queen immediately stopped him. Make you eat your flan. After that romance, Hai also enjoys its own flan section, and I found out today that part of the flan was missing. When she asked, the AI confirmed that she had finished eating. I wonder what to do with the rest. Jin wants it. Stand up to please. But in the blink of an eye, flan pieces disappeared from Homer's hands because Shiki said if you don't get it, you eat it. Jin lands his raised hand, but Shiki notices. I thought Jin was hungry, so I offered him another piece of curry. Clearly that's not what Jin wanted. Jin then threatens to kill Shi. While NATO is patrolling the campus. Check the layers to make sure everything is safe. That's when the Basiu appeared. Take a message from the principal. The storm caused a poor signal. The phone has no signal, so the principal asked Basiu to communicate. She said there were no suspects in the school. Because no one can sneak in. NATO replied, I know. Because this is a training session, so you've got to do it right. Follow the instructions. The director advised me to take this opportunity. NATO should spend more time with his students. But NATO says it won't do that. The principal understood inconvincingly. Should be admitted, maybe in your absence. Students are more comfortable. It's easier to get closer together. I hope the kids can get along and become friends. Because it's thanks to friends that a demonic. It can be stronger. NATO says that's unlikely to happen right away because they all come to the academy with their own burdens. Even if you complain. Now they don't have time to go out and have fun. The principal also agreed. I thought maybe I should lend a helping hand. Back to the students. Jin complains that Shiki is annoying. Shiki also responded. Cheng said it was Jin who was the most annoying. If you want flan, just say it. If you don't say raw, you're an idiot. Angry at those words, can't hold back. That triggers the release of real blood to find an excuse to cause trouble. Shiki found it interesting. It also activates your blood to create a familiar gun. Some of you are worried, others are excited. Before the AI could, Jin threw a blade. Shiki immediately used his weapon to stop him. At that moment, the battle was interrupted by NATO. People walk into the arena and ask what they're doing. I know they almost risked their lives. Just for a piece of flan. Jin argued that he just wanted to get rid of. Shiki was annoyed by him. Shiki quickly told me that he was only defending himself. Completely innocent. NATO looks empty pot. He told me he didn't care about running out of food. And the whole group realized I should have left you some. Homer immediately knelt down and apologized for eating out. You blame yourself for being an insatiable glutton. Juji wondered if it wasn't for them to eat. NATO didn't say from the beginning. NATO just told Homer to stand up and admit it. You didn't say they had to leave. But we'll all be here until morning. It is absolutely forbidden to fight or damage facilities before leaving. NATO warns AI who leaves gymnasium will be fired. But the students only care that she took the flan. Finally, Homer found out he'd forgotten the spoon. But Kuin retorted that if he brought Theo, he would be expelled immediately because everyone has finished eating. Ikari suggested going to bed, but Shiki suggests talking about love. Everybody get your sleeping bag. Kuin agreed, but with the condition that Shiki has to talk about Rokuro. Shiki was not happy and ignored it. He brought Jin closer to learn how to coordinate. Jin just told me to leave you alone. So Shiki ignored him. He asked the group to play cards. But no one was interested. He said he would sleep with Rokuro. Don't bother anyone. Juji realized that's the problem. Because from the beginning you thought about sleeping together. Women will be in trouble. Shiki explained just talk and sleep. Come here, story tell a little about Juji. You're a goat whore. You say you're not to blame. But if this is a shared bed, there must be something special going on. Shiki objected, not understanding what he was saying. Rokuro voiced better than men and women should sleep separately. Kyun told you not to be shy. It will be easier to sleep together. Ikari immediately protested vehemently. He said he didn't want to see it because it was taboo. It was at that time that Ikari came out. Immediately divide the male and female sectors. It's absolutely forbidden to mix when it's time to sleep. Shiki excited. It feels like a school trip. Rokuro, I admit it's been a long time since I slept. But Shiki reminds you not to go to bed too early. Ikari suggests telling ghost stories, but Shiki is immediately flustered. He said that kind of thing is over. Rokuro and Juji found the idea interesting. Should agree according to Ikari. It's easier to talk when there's a topic. Ikari warned Jin not to let him sleep. Until you tell a story. Force me to get involved. Meanwhile, Juji, to start telling a story about high school girls, based on a real event near your school. Shiki became more and more worried. But I dare not admit that I am afraid. Jin is a coward for not participating. Although Jin obviously doesn't care much about such things. In another development, NATO contacted Kyoya. The Kyoto headquarters is busy rebuilding, and when I tried to call NATO, I couldn't connect. I thought NATO was stopping me, so I cried. NATO will never do that. Kyoza's glad to hear that. But seeing NATO start to lose patience, I moved on to ask about Shiki and group students. NATO calmly responded, I'm not cruel enough to kill them. So there's no problem. Kyoza reminder. It's because they talk like that people misunderstand. But I also believe that Shiki and the group felt NATO's kindness. Back to the students and the storytelling. Has Rokuro start sharing something that only you've been through since returning from Kyoto. For many days, you can't sleep because you always feel being watched by that AI. Even in the blanket. Everyone thinks it's just Queen. And Shiki was relieved to realize that this is about people, not a ghost. Next, Juji. He said he was in the same room as NATO. But you're almost never there. You often have to be alone. The strange thing is that whenever Juji is going to do something, specifically a bottle, whenever you have time, you always hear the sound. NATO's footsteps seem to be aligned at the right time. Shiki was relieved. Maybe it's just about the teacher. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's Ikari's turn. You seriously claim to tell a true story, horrible about the death of many. You mentioned a friend who loves motorcycles, often passing through a pass famous for its dangerous bend. There are rumors there. If you hear a woman's voice, there is absolutely no turning back. If you do wrong, you will regret it. Before I can tell you all. The lights in the arena went out. Shiki panicked, screaming. Jin coldly told me that the rumor was true, because I've heard that demons gather on the stairs. The Shiki got more panicked, but Jin pointed out that he wasn't making it up. The whole group turned to look and saw a masked man playing a flute, surrounding the spirits. Ikari immediately rushed to catch him, but it's tossed around by a barrier. The others are hiding behind Jin. Shiki is in a panic. Loss of control that triggers real blood release. You keep shooting and blowing up the arena. Everyone fainted in the rubble from being shot. NATO, now warn the principal that you've gone too far. You just want to scare them a little bit. The next day the whole group came to class, thinking it's all just a dream. NATO didn't mention what happened last night. That only announced that the school decided to give them a field trip. This time it will be Tokyo.